Hey, what's going on, Barry? Welcome to episode 40 of the Former Action Guys podcast. I'm your host, Justin Kramer. On today's episode, I have my friend Alex I'm going to fuck it up. Anninos. He just said it a little bit ago, too. He's got a Greek background, or Greek last name, which is strange. He gets into his background in the show, but he's on the show. He was a Fire Direction Control Chief for Alpha 110 and recently exited the Marine Corps after 8 years of service. He was also on the 11th MEU with me, and he was part of the first team of Marines that deployed to Syria to provide artillery-fired support of the fight against ISIS at Tabaqa Dam. He's a strategic position. Tabaqa Dam was a strategic position that ISIS threatened to blow up and flood the Euphrates River Valley. So overall, it was a great conversation, but he had some camera issues. So if you're watching this, you're going to notice that his side of the video is just a tad blurry. If you're not watching this video, then you make sure to subscribe to the Former Action Guys podcast YouTube channel if you haven't already. Give a like and leave comments on your favorite episodes. I've even started to add the top hits from previous episodes so you can listen to some of the best stories over and over again. I think right now for those of you that haven't checked out the page, there's like 90 hours of content on the new YouTube page. It's only been up for about a month, so get on there, subscribe, take a look, leave some comments. I know this video is going to get some comments from different 0811s and stuff, so make sure you pass that around to those guys because he's talking smack saying that Alpha 110 was the best. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, finally, make sure to check out my website, jkramergraphics.com, and my Instagram page at jkramergraphics. That's jkramergraphics.com and at jkramergraphics on Instagram. And you can also email or any questions you have to formeractionguyspodcast@gmail.com. formeractionguyspodcast@gmail.com. All right, that's it. So enjoy the episode. Yeah, so are you doing anything like different because of the, you just got out, right?
I've literally been a month.
And were you already moved out before you got out, or?
Yes. Well, like I had my apartment and everything, but I still had like stuff in the barracks and I was staying in the barracks. And then the day of my EAS, I got like the last little bit of stuff out of my barracks room and took it all down to my apartment.
Okay.
And then I was like, just moved out and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then all this stuff started happening, right?
Yeah. Like as soon as I was planning on, traveling and doing all like having a good time, getting ready for summer, it just fucking
fucking done. Yeah, everybody. Yeah, that's a huge thing. Everyone's summer plans are ruined right now because we don't know how long this is gonna last. I think you can buy flights for super cheap, but yeah, because since they haven't restricted it, like you can still fly, but everyone kind of shuns you if you do.
Yeah. And there's everyone's fucking blaming millennials right now. And it's like, dude, millennials are like 24 to 36 years old now. They're not the Gen Z kids that are going to, like Cancun for spring break and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. It's like some people you think might be overreacting. I mean, some people are definitely overreacting. Especially when you see some of the, it's obviously something serious. I buy food and everything. Like I always keep at least a week's worth of food on me anyway, in case like something would happen. But, but when you see like in China that it's dying out, Italy's kind of leveling off now. So that's all like positive news coming out of those places. So we'll probably end up start being like that too, since we're now testing at a cyclic rate. Everyone compared us to South Korea and how much like they were testing compared to us, how we weren't testing very much. Now we've like surpassed them by a lot by how much we're testing. So
yeah, and that's I think another thing that's like kind of causing more panic is that obviously now that we have more tests, the numbers of cases are going up, which in reality the number of cases, like if you look at it from the outside, the number of cases are the same. It's just that we've now been able to identify them. So people are like, holy shit, more and more people are getting infected, which, like it is still spreading, but at the same time, it's like we just know who's actually like infected more now than we did before.
Yeah.
My mom FaceTimes me probably twice a week asking if I'm washing my hands and shit. It's pretty funny.
I talk to my mom. Not every day, every couple days. I need to hit up my dad. We text more than anything. They both live in like Wisconsin and Indiana, so it's kind of out there. Anyway, coronavirus. What are you gonna do? Fucking stock up and ride this thing out.
Exactly. So I went out actually grocery shopping yesterday morning because I just needed a few things to kind of like complete my reserve, And thank God, like I shop at Ralph's. I have a Ralph's like not even half a mile from my apartment. And I was able to get in there and get out like with the stuff I needed in like 20 minutes. But as I was walking up to Ralph's, there's a fucking Trader Joe's right next to it. And that shit, like there was a line out the door. Everybody was standing 6 feet apart, and then it was like they're only letting a certain amount of people in at a time, and then you can only buy like so much.
People are fucking dumb, man. I've been to Trader Joe's a couple times, and they do have some good stuff there. But like what they charge for stuff is just ridiculous. Like people that go to wait in line for that kind of food rather than go to the grocery store shows you how much of an actual emergency it is at this point. I'm not saying it won't get worse or can't get worse, but right now it's like when you go to the store and you still see food on the shelves, then you're like, okay, well, it's not that bad because people rejected the spam. People aren't picking up shrimp. You know. So
just wait till people start eating their fucking pets and shit, That's when
I finally was able to get at the grocery store here. I go to Avon's over in Normal Heights, and I was finally able to get chicken. Chicken. For like the last 2 times I've been to the grocery store, the only meat you could get were racks of ribs and like the full big ass racks and steaks, like these fucking thick ass, because they were so expensive. But the racks of ribs were like $9 each, and I'm like, dude, that's not a bad. And I have a Traeger, so I picked up a couple of those and ran that. Like it's not, you don't want to eat that every day, obviously, but
I haven't been able to get eggs since since they announced like the lockdown in California. Eggs have been scarce, which is like whatever. I'll go without eggs in my breakfast. Like it's not the end of the world. But I was able to. I grabbed some steaks yesterday, and I didn't realize, because I just saw it and I was like, damn, that's really good marbling. Like, I'm going to grab those. And then when I'm checking out, it was actually Wagyu fucking steak that I picked up. So I spent they were still like reasonably priced. Like, it wasn't super expensive, but I'm like, I'm coming back to my apartment and my roommates are like, you got Wagyu steak? Like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, I didn't know it was until I was checking out. But I mean, I've got one marinating right now, ready to go for tonight's dinner. I can't wait.
I've had steak up until yesterday when I went to the store. I've had steak for the last 3 or 4 days in a row, and I love steak, but it's like, dude, it just kind of gets old after a little bit. Like, change it up. Like, so super. They had chicken and they had pork and they had eggs too, which I've been waiting on as well. No breakfast sausage yet, but what are you gonna do? I was talking to my sister. Or I was talking to my mom, actually, back home. I'm from Indiana originally. Where are you from originally?
Georgia.
Okay. Yeah, what part?
Buford.
Buford. So that's like southeast?
No, it's actually north. I would say I'm probably like a 45-minute drive north of Atlanta.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's in Gwinnett County. It's like right near, if you know, like Lake Lanier and or like Stone Mountain is
Stone
like
Mountain.
Stone Mountain's like kind of a drive from me, but not really too much.
Before high school, from when I was like a baby till I grew up, I moved to Indiana right before high school, but I lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is like the southernmost point in Tennessee. It's like I think it's like an hour from Georgia or from Atlanta.
Yeah, that's like a popular fucking like vacation spot. If you're not going to like Florida for like spring break, you're going to like Tennessee.
Yeah,
people want to Chattanooga and Nashville, and then like what's like the really Gatlinburg, the like actual like forest area. So,
yeah. I was in Nashville this summer. My buddy works at a place there called Peg Leg Porker, and it's like this rib place. This dude is this dude I knew when I lived in Indiana. Went to high school together, and really good friends. Moved down there, runs this place, and went to check it out. And like line out the door, like these old school dudes, one of the guy that actually like cooks the ribs, you can barely understand what he's saying and shit. Like, like legitimately, it's funny. Nashville's a great place. Tennessee in general is a really good spot. A lot of people retire to Tennessee. It's like a hidden gem. Well, Nashville's blowing up and becoming super expensive. It's almost expensive to live there as it does out here in San Diego. Mm-hmm. But they don't have like state tax and stuff like that.
And also you heard they have like the Hearing Conservation Act in Tennessee as well. So you can go to any gun store that sells suppressors and buy a suppressor without a Class 3 tax, like federal tax stamp.
Really?
Yeah, that's one of my buddies, Connor, who was in Alpha Beta with me on this last deployment. He's from Tennessee, he's from Memphis, and he's like, dude, I love Tennessee so much. And I had a guy on my first deployment who was from Tennessee, and he was just the biggest piece of shit I've ever met in my life. So I like had like a foretaste of like Tennesseans, you know. But then like me and him are really tight, and he's telling me about like, yeah, we have the Hearing Conservation Act in Tennessee. There's no fucking state tax, like, and I'm like, dude, I might fucking move to Tennessee. Like, it sounds like my kind of place.
Yeah, it's not bad. I lived right outside. I didn't live like in Chattanooga downtown like area, but I lived right outside of it in an area called Hickson and an area called Soddy Daisy. But I lived across the street from the river, you know, like across the street from the Tennessee River, and it's on the backside of the dam, so it was basically a big ass lake, you know. So me and my brother and my sister would go over there and fucking, you know, catch catfish and shit, play around.
Yeah.
You know, it was cool. It was a cool spot to grow up. Tennessee's awesome. So
Yeah,
you're from Georgia, and then did you always live there, or did you come from somewhere before that?
so I was born in Florida in Boca Raton. My parents worked at the Boca Raton Resort. That's where they actually met. And then, yeah, they had me, and then 3 years later, they had my sister. And then when I was 7, they were like, "All right, we really cannot stand Florida anymore." So we moved north to Georgia. My mom has a sister that lived in Georgia, and she was like, "Yeah, you guys should come up here." And so then my parents like packed up everything, and I'm actually really glad they did because like, I like looking back. I mean, I know like I was young when I was in Georgia, but just like the memories that I have of like going to school in Florida versus Georgia, like Georgia's education system is like far superior to Florida's, which I think definitely contributes to like what goes on in Florida sometimes, you know, like you see all the articles of Florida man fucking strikes
Yeah,
again and shit. And
yeah,
but Florida is a really cool state. Like, you know, location wise, like Boca Raton is basically right on the coast. And it's a really pretty town. The only thing that kind of sucks about it is like it's like a rich area, and it's where a lot of people from the Northeast go to retire. So you get like
mm,
your New Yorkers and your people from New Jersey that are retiring, and you know, and like I would venture to say that it's like definitely a different culture up there than it is, you know, in like the South. So I think there's definitely like a clash. And my parents, well, both my parents are immigrants, so they have a whole different, you know, set of cultural ideals than anyone that goes to Florida. And they just were like, yeah, we're not fitting in here. We need to go north-ish.
where are your parents from?
So my dad is from Egypt. He was born in Egypt in Cairo, and my mom is from Iceland. She was born in Keflavik.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a interesting mix.
Yeah, a lot of people they don't, because you know I'm just like white, like
I would have never. You're like real white. You're like pasty
yeah,
white.
yeah. I mean, half Icelandic. That's about as white as you can get. But I have. It's weird too because I'll have like summers where like I will tan, like I will fucking get bronze,
Oh yeah.
and then yeah, and then I'll have summers where I just burn continuously, and it's just I don't know. Like my mom, God bless her, I don't think she should leave the house for longer than 30 minutes, otherwise she gets a sunburn. And then my dad just like can do it all, and
Oh
I
yeah.
like
I mean,
the son's like afraid of my dad's melanin. Like it's like you're taking too much, you know?
yeah, Egypt, man. That's one of those places.
For real. But it's cool because like my dad's like he was born in Egypt, but my grandparents on his side are Greek.
Hmm.
So my last name Anninos is a Greek name, and I think I have like family from like all over in that area.
That's pretty wild, man. Have you traveled back to Egypt or Iceland?
I've been to Iceland a few times when I was younger. The last time I went was for one of my aunt's weddings. I was 16, and I haven't been to Egypt or Greece or anything. My sister did go to Egypt with my dad. I want to say I think it was during my first deployment. They went and saw my grandma. So my grandfather on my dad's side passed away like way before either me or my sister or my mom like was in the picture.
Mm.
Um, and then my grandma, I met her shit probably like a handful of times in my life because you know she lived on the other side of the world. And then they went to go see her, and it was kind of like like a say goodbye kind of trip, you know.
Oh yeah, that sucks.
She passed away while I was gone. But I mean, it does because you know, like she's family and I love her. But it's a weird feeling because I can't necessarily say I was close to her. You know, because I never really saw her that much, and I'd only talked to her maybe a few times out of the year, like on the phone. You know, and then like there's like a language barrier too. Like she spoke English, but it wasn't like you know the best, obviously. So it was a little hard to understand and stuff like that. But you know, yeah, I mean, she's family, and you know, I love her. But yeah, it was a weird when I found out that she passed away. It was a weird feeling because I wasn't like, I mean, obviously I was sad. I was more sad for my dad, I think, because my dad, obviously, you know, that's his mom.
Yeah.
So that it was a weird, it was definitely weird. But yeah, I have a lot more family in Iceland. My sister actually lives in Iceland now. She's doing like a year long. She's living there for like a year, which actually I think just got extended now due to all this.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like working over there. She's staying with family. And I'm actually, that was one of my plans when I got out, was I was going to get a ticket to Iceland and go see all my family over there, but got to hold off on that now.
How long were you in for?
I was in for 8 years and a month.
8 years and a month. What year? So what year did you join? 2012?
Right at the beginning, January 23rd.
Okay. What made you decide to join the Marines? Or did you come in when you were 18?
Yeah, yeah. So so like, kind of cliche, right? But like 9/11, I was 8. Yeah, I was 8 years old when 9/11 happened, and obviously, like, I had enough know-how to know, like, okay, there's like good guys and bad guys. So I want to be like one of the good guys. And then like, and my dad was all for it because my grandfather fought in World War II in the Greek army. So my dad knows, like, you know, the military can provide you with like structure and discipline and all that, you know, all of the stuff the recruiting commercials fucking tell you.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to join like the military, and like I went back and forth as a kid, you know, because when you're a kid, you just want to be like an army man or something. When I was 13, I saw my first Marine Corps recruiting commercial, and I was like, "Yep, that's what I'm gonna do." And I like read up on it and shit, and I was like, "It's the toughest branch. Like, I'm fucking doing it."
Yeah,
and,
that's for me.
From 13 until I was able to sign the papers at the recruiting office, that's like all I fucking talked about. Like, all my friends back home, they would just be like, "Shut up, dude. We get it. Like, you're going to the Marines. Nobody cares."
Yeah.
And you know, like, it's like I look at like my Facebook memories from like back then, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I want to beat my own ass." Like,
oh yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
You see those boot ass photos of you, you're like, "Oh my god, I'm such a loser."
Like, delete. But yeah. So when I first spoke to, it was actually kind of funny because I was in my senior year of high school, and I hadn't like applied for college yet, and I hadn't spoken to a recruiter, and my dad was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I honestly don't know. Like, I'm kind of scared of both options right now." And he was like, "Okay, that's fine. Like, you can be afraid, but like, let's go talk to the recruiter." So he drives me on a Saturday to the recruiter, and
he's getting you the fuck out of the house. He's like, "Come on, bud, let's go to the recruiter."
Yeah. So yeah, I go talk to the recruiter, and he's super awesome dude. He's a tanker. And I told him, I was like, I wanted to be an officer, but I think it'd be better for me to enlist and like learn how to follow before I learn how to lead. And he was like, "Oh, you're smart, you know." And he told me about like the MECEPS program and all that stuff. Obviously, I didn't follow through with any of that. I just straight up enlisted. But I was actually in the depth for a really long time because I was not the healthiest person as a kid. I ate a lot. I was fat. When I went to the recruiting station for the first time, I couldn't even do one pull-up. So the recruiter was like, "Okay, well, like we can sign you in, but we got to work with you. Like, if you don't pass an IST, you're gonna get cut from the fucking depth."
Yeah.
So, you know, I was still definitely young, and I was like, "That's not gonna happen to me. Like, everything's laid out, right? Like, I'm just gonna fucking waltz in here and be the best Marine ever." And then I fucking failed an IST, and I got kicked out of the DEP about 6 months later because I couldn't do 5 fucking pull-ups.
Oh, no way.
And that was a huge wake-up call for me. I was like, "Holy shit, this is not just like my calling. Like, I have to fucking work for this."
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, no more fucking around. Like I was already graduated high school at that point, and I was just straight up every day going to the recruiting station. I would meet. There was an LA Fitness
You're
right by the
that
fucking.
you're that kid.
I did every fucking PT in the morning. The recruiters. I would go. My fucking recruiter would take me to LA Fitness because they had like free memberships there, and they could bring the poolies.
Yeah.
And it was just like 6 a.m. spin class, and then running on the treadmill, and then all kinds of other shit. And then I was also that fucking poolie that was at every high school for the pull-up bar, you know, assisting the recruiters and stuff.
You know what, man?
And
We hate on the kid that does that like comes in and like comes in and does a workout with the recruiters and like, you know, loses the weight, but it's like, dude, they got a goal and they're pushing for it, and it's like, it's funny to make fun of them, ha ha ha, you know, but in reality it's like, dude, they fucking, like, you're doing it, you know, like you're doing what you should be doing, you know, as long as you follow through with it.
exactly. So,
But coming through every day like that, that's legit, man.
yeah, I mean, you know, it was either that or like fucking help my dad work, and my dad's a car salesman. I was not about that. Like, so so yeah, so once I actually started losing like a shit ton of weight. I started changing like how I ate and stuff, and I went to boot camp. I think I was like 235 ish, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left boot camp, I was 185 pounds. So I lost,
shit,
yeah, yeah. So they bled me dry pretty much. I lost a lot of weight, which I've managed to put all back on now, but it's more muscle than fat. So God for that.
Yeah,
but
not for me. I stopped running when I got out.
I mean, I haven't ran either. I have a punching bag in my gym. One of my roommates got, and I just punch that and do like I have like probably 3 different exercise apps on my phone that I've downloaded in the past week. You know, and I just run through those.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, like you have to now. You can't go to the gym. You know,
exactly.
like there's no gym workouts. It's a good time for people to have those. What were those like? Sandbag, those things you could put in a door or whatever, and do pull-ups and like
the
straps.
I used to have one of those. Mm-hmm.
You could check them out from MCCS before you go on deployment. They would like let a unit check out a bunch of them. I don't remember what they're called. That'd be super handy to have right now.
I had when I failed my IST and got kicked out of the DEP, my mom and dad were like, okay, we're getting you this pull-up, the same thing, you hang it in the fucking doorway.
Yeah.
And you're going to do pull-ups every day. And then, you know, like as a kid, you're like, God, mom and dad, like, leave me alone.
Let me just do this. Damn.
But they were like, every time I'd like walk down the hall, my mom would be like in her bedroom, like knitting. And she's like, do pull-ups. And I'm like, God, fuck. And I'd go and like do pull-ups. But it helped. And it was the kick in the ass, you know, that I needed. And it
Get
got
me
me
the fuck out of her house. She's
Dude,
like, get out of my house.
I got kicked out of the DEP. My dad, I didn't know this until after I got in like a serious argument with my mom, and she was like, you understand, like your father wanted to kick you out of the house, right? And I was like, what? I was like, no, I did not know that. And she's like, yeah, he was very upset when you like failed the DEP. And I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy.
My mother would have been way more than happy to just take me back in. Like if I was like, Mom, I'm not going to do it now or whatever, she'd be like, that's fine. Come on, baby. Like I'm going to make you dinner, you know, like.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom was like, join the Coast Guard. And I was like, no, Mom, I'm not doing that.
What made you decide to join the Marines? So you don't have no military background in your family, really. Well, you said your grandfather served with who? But he was in the foreign military.
In the Greek army in World War II. I mean, like I looked into, once I was like 13, I looked into all the different branches and what I kind of had to offer, and just Marines stuck out to me the most. I was at a point where I was like, I need to do something, otherwise I'm gonna do nothing. And when I saw the Marines, I was like, it just like spoke to me, you know. It's just like I was like, this is it. Like this is what I need to do. Like it's the hardest. It's the longest fucking camp. Like I need to go and prove not only to like everyone that I like went to high school with saying like, oh, you're not gonna make it, and to myself that I can actually like stick to something and follow through with it. And I chose the Marines. Also, I mean like the uniforms are the best. Let's be real. So you know. So that was definitely a deciding factor.
That was one thing I never really even thought about when I went to go join the Marines. You know, the uniform, like people talk about that. I've met people that were like, I literally saw the commercial of them fighting the dragon, and that's why I joined. You know, and I'm like, cool, man, like that, good on you. I read Carlos Hathcock, the Marine sniper. I read that book, and that was like, because my dad was Army, so I was like, I'm going to join the Rangers. You know, when I get older, I'm going to be an Army Ranger, and it'll be super cool. Then I read that, and I was like, dude, fuck the Rangers. I'm going to go be a Marine sniper. I was like, that would be awesome, you know, and then blah, blah, blah. Now, none of that happened. You know, life gets in the way.
Yeah.
So when you joined, did you know what you wanted to be?
So yeah, I wanted to go infantry like every other fucking person that joins the Marine Corps, you know. But when I got kicked out of the DEP, I actually lost my infantry spot. So so I lost the contract, and the day that I was like getting to re-evaluate and get signed back in, there was one infantry spot left, and I passed the test, but I think like another recruiting station, some guy beat me to it. So then I had a different recruiter at this point too. My previous recruiter had cycled back to the fleet. And so now my new recruiter, he's a comm guy. He was really cool too. And he was like, hey, so here's your options here. And I thought I was looking at military police because I did the Explorer program in high school, which is like Boy Scouts, but for cops. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of fun doing that. So I was like, oh, I'll go be a fucking PMO. And then really glad I didn't do that. No offense to the PMO people, but that would not have been me. I would not have been a good law enforcement Marine.
Yeah.
But I looked at, and then I had the option for artillery, but it was a specific Fire Direction Controlman. And I was like, what's this? And my recruiter was like, oh, it's actually super sick. You're like the king of artillery. You fucking you tell like the howitzers where to shoot and stuff. And I was like, that sounds dope. And I thought I was going to be an observer. I was like, oh, cool. So I'm like a fucking observer. And so I signed that contract. And even like when I was in boot camp and MCT, my combat instructors were like, what are you going to be? And I was like, my contract says Fire Direction Control Specialist. And they're like, okay, so a fucking observer, like that's dope. But, you know, obviously they're talking shit to me, but they're like, okay, it's a decent job. And then I get to Fort Sill, and I was like, I'm supposed to be in the observer class, and they're like, no, you're not. You're in the FDC class. Here's your fucking man purse full of like charts and RDPs and pubs and shit.
Yeah. Here's your pizza cutter, bro. Good luck.
I was like, what the fuck is this? But so like my first 4 years, I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
I love being in the Marine Corps, but I hated FDC. I hated the idea that like I'm in this tent and there's like computers and a fucking chart and I'm doing math. And it wasn't until I started getting into the more like senior billets of the FTC where I was like, this shit's actually pretty dope.
Yeah.
And then when I actually started like ops chiefing, that's when I was like, okay, I love this. I love it.
Because you're making decisions. People don't, I mean, for the people that don't, you want to explain what an FDC is for those that may not know what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So FDC is Fire Direction Control. So basically, the way it works, observers will radio us with a call for fire, and our job is to take what the observers give us, so like grid and target description and all that, and basically just morph it into language that the howitzers understand, so that they know where to shoot. So we tell them their deflection, which is how left or right the cannon tube is, and then their quadrant elevation, how up or down the fucking cannon has to be, and then like what shell fuse combination to shoot, what charge 1 through 5, which ones to use, and the cycle just repeats until we're either on target and the target's destroyed, or you know, fucking artillery's kind of slow, so they might drive away. But, but yeah,
no way.
Well, you know, it's always destroyed in training, but
yeah, it takes some. It's an art, man. It's a thing that people have to do too. If a battery hasn't shot in a long time, you can definitely tell.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely a perishable skill. I've had field ops where like I'm super tight with my FTC. Like everyone's working in harmony, and we're just like cranking out. We'll get like 8 series in a row, and we're just cranking it out and just going. And then it will have a break from the field for a little bit. Or especially like when you get back from deployment and you're doing like a MEU, like you have maybe one training evolution during the MEU, you know?
Yeah.
So you get back and everything's just rusty. Like
What do you think about the Marine Corps now? They're basically flip-flopping, making cannons, rockets, and like what is it going to be? One battalion on each coast of cannon, and then the rest are going to be rockets.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. So, I mean, I have to read into it more. At first glance, I don't like it. Obviously, like I'm a cannons artilleryman by trade, so I don't like the idea of some slimy little like HIMARS nerd coming in and taking over.
Just point and shoot with his fucking robot.
Bunch of fireworks and shit. But I mean, at the same time, I think that like warfare and combat is obviously is changing, and it's changing fast. So if the Marine Corps is trying to adapt and keep current, and like obviously at the end of the day the mission is to win battles and win wars. So I think if that's what's necessary, then it's probably the smart choice.
But how long does it take to reload a fucking rocket launcher?
Dude, I don't even know. I've never messed with HIMARS. I know
it's got to take a minute to reload. It's got six shots. So if you need more than 6 shots, now you're waiting. I know you have the whole battery there, possibly, maybe not, but I mean, I don't know. I'm out, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they're cutting like tanks. I heard they're cutting tanks like completely.
I get that though. I mean, that makes sense. Let's be honest. The Marine Corps. When is the last time we used tanks? Actually used them. They were in Sangin. So when I was in Sangin in 2013. We used to see them up on the hillside up in Shukvani. Shukvani was the base up on the hillside, and you'd see them up there basically on Overwatch, just scoping the valley, But they never came down. They never came down to the valley, and when they did, so we were there, and we were the last advisor team. So it's supposed to be like, hey, we're cutting it off. Like after these dudes, no American support after this. Mm. And fucking, we told them on this one like big campaign, like, hey, don't say anything about tanks. You're not getting tanks. We're not doing tanks. And then some general came down, was like, oh, you guys need tanks? And then, yeah, bring in tanks. And they brought them in. They left. They didn't even use them. It was a waste of time. It held up the mission just to get tanks there. And then later on, you remember Captain Burton.
Yeah, he sounds familiar.
Captain Burton was the effects officer, or he was one of the fires officers that worked with me in the command element.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to say it was Burton. I'm almost certain it was him. He was in tanks after my deployment, I think. The guys that rotated out with them, or that whoever that unit was. And they went down into the Sangin Valley and hit an IED, man, and fucking destroyed a tank and burned some kids. Like, I don't think anybody died. But, like, and it was one of those things where, like, I heard about it after I got home. Like, you hear it on the news, and it's like, dude, we fucking told you, don't take fucking tanks down into the fucking Sangin Valley. Like, Jesus Christ. It's crazy, man. But, yeah, no, tanks going away, I'm not surprised. Like, we never use them.
I'm just wondering, like, what... Are they just going to, like, I mean, I don't think it's logical that they're just going to, like, cut all, like, tanks Marines and, like, all right, you're EAS. Like, but, like, I wonder what they're going to fold them into.
My thinking is this. If they are going to trim down the Marine Corps to make it smaller and more, like, elite or whatever you want to call it, but actually get employed, they're doing that as being like, hey, look, we're like a legitimate trim fighting force, like, best we've ever been. We cut all the fat. Like, there's no bullshit here. Here's the Marine Corps. If they did that, then I can't be mad about it, because then you're keep the standards high, just weed out the people that are shitty. Like, if they started just weeding people out that were just shitty, these dudes, the gray man that just kind of exists but never does anything. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You just here collecting a check, like, but if they made it like smaller, more elite, and actually got utilized, that's the problem. I mean, you saw it on the MEU while we were on the MEU together. That's how. So for the people that don't know, you and I met while we were on the MEU. Was it the 2016? Or 2014?
It was 16 to 17. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was the second MEU. I couldn't.
Yeah. It was the fucking 11th.
Yeah, it was when I was with the command element. I was the fucking MEU fires chief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to do that JFO primer course.
That's what's up. JFO primer course was legit. Gave me something to do on ship, and I think it was instructional. You know, it was beneficial for people.
Yeah, definitely. I learned a lot from it.
It was good. We had, recon guys came and did it. You guys came and did it. What'd we have? Snipers from the infantry battalions came up and did it, And a lot of you guys, you went to Syria, right, with those dudes?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's back up. Let's catch back up. Where did you start out at? Let's get back on your history. In the Marine Corps. Like, what was your first unit?
So I was Alpha 111.
Okay. What was it like?
That was my unit the entire time for 8 years.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Anarchy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it was? Anarchy.
Archangel.
Which one was Anarchy? I don't know. Whatever.
I think that's probably 10th Marines.
Probably.
Might be. I don't know.
Who knows? Were you did you know anything about the units? Did you have when you were at Fort Sill, like, hey, I want to go East Coast, I want to go West Coast, like?
So that's actually kind of funny. When I was at Fort Sill, I put on my wish list, I put Hawaii, Okinawa, and Lejeune because my thought process was, okay, if I go Hawaii or Okinawa, I'm supposed to get like 10 days of leave to go home before I go to my duty station. I was like, fuck yeah, more leave. And then if I got Lejeune, it was like close enough to home to where I could like visit, often.
Yeah.
And I got the one that I didn't put, Camp Pendleton. And
could have been 29 Palms.
Yeah, sure, it could have been. I'm glad it wasn't. Although I hear like camaraderie in 29 Palms is pretty sick because there's like nothing to do.
It has to be. They're used to this. They're like shut in. Like what? We're always on quarantine. Like, we're always just fucking chilling.
But so when I found out I was going to Pendleton, I was like, well, California, that could be pretty cool. And I had no idea like about the units or anything out there. Like I didn't know. I remember when I checked into 111, I talked to the battalion ops chief, and I was there with two of my. It was like, all right, your last name starts with A, so I'm going to put you in Alpha Battery, and then you two are going to Charlie. And I was just like, all right.
Whatever.
So, and then I came to find out, like, as I, got settled into Alpha, that, like, Alpha has, like, this reputation in the battalion. Like, we didn't take shit from anybody. We were shit hot, like. I mean, I know, like, if there's, like, Bravo, Charlie, and India dudes listening right now, they're like, oh, yeah, whatever,
fuck,
dude.
I want to hear about it in the comments on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of them, trust me. But no, like, I mean, definitely, like, 2012 fucking through, like, 2015 Alpha Battery, dude, we were untouchable. Like, nobody could fucking tell us shit. Like, we were hands down the best battery in the fucking battalion, probably I'd say in the regiment. And we worked hard, and we played harder. Like, I remember, like, there used to be complaints on Alpha Battery all the time on the weekends because of the fucking barracks parties that we'd throw. And then we'd come into work on that next Monday, and it's just, like, back to work, back to business as usual, and then get ready for the next weekend. And it was a lot of fun. And when I went on my first deployment with them, it was pretty cool because it was, like, exactly like what, like people who haven't been on a MU, like the booze cruise, like that's exactly what it was. I got to go to like a bunch of different countries, and I was just getting like like shit faced in all of them, and had like a really good time. And I was a Lance Corporal, so I was like tight knit with like a lot of my friends there.
What was your favorite port on that one?
Probably Israel. I was surprised that we got to go to Israel too, because I don't think that's typically supposed to be like a West Pac.
Yeah, it's like an East Coast one. Normally goes there.
So, but I guess what the rumor was is that the CO of the ship, it was like his last float before fucking moving on. So he like made a call and was like, I want to go to Israel. So they were like, all right, fucking go to Israel.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
One dude like, hey man, like I really have always just wanted to go here. All right. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't cost much to take a huge ass fucking ship and move it, however many hundreds of miles it is to get to Israel. Like that's crazy.
I mean, I don't know how true it is, but that's,
Yeah, you never know, man. You never know.
Israel. So, but yeah, Israel was sick. I remember, like, when before we even, like, hit port, we're getting all the briefs, like, this is what you do if there's a rocket attack, you need to get the fuck out of there, and the ship will leave. Like, whether you're on it or not, the ship is going to deuce out. So
I'd be like, oh, no, I missed a ship. Oh, no.
No, I'm stuck in Israel with a bunch of hot ass women who love Americans.
I'll stay with the rocket attacks, man. Fucking,
Yeah.
what are the odds, right?
Yeah.
Fuck being on ship.
Yeah. So we were in Eilat in Israel. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's like, I guess the best way to describe it, it's like a beach town, but obviously imagine Israel but a beach town in the Middle East. And there was like lot of like really cool shops and stuff. We actually ended up finding this bar called Mike's Place, which was just owned by these 3 American dudes who just like, yeah, we're gonna move to Israel and open a bar.
Huh.
And so yeah, they did it, and it was actually really cool. I had a lot of fun there, and everyone's like super friendly. And they're all like, hey, like, obviously we're getting a bunch of free drinks and stuff.
They all speak English too, right?
For the most part, yeah. I had some dudes that were like in the IDF, or they were like veterans of the IDF, like talk to me, and they spoke like kind of broken English.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people there. I was surprised, like some of the people, I just thought they were other Americans, like visiting Israel, but they're like, no, I'm from Israel. Just sound.
Did you do any cultural stuff, or did you just get hammered the whole time?
Oh no! So this is the one I actually like. I did some cool shit. So I got to take a tour to Jerusalem, and I did the whole like holy city tour. And they we walk through. They show us like the parts that like have not been like renovated or anything. So they're like from way back in the day, like city streets and shit like that.
Yeah.
And then we get to see like a lot of the religious sites. So there was, I can't remember the name of the church, but it contained the supposed spot of where Jesus' tomb was.
Is it
when they took him down?
The Temple Mount?
I think maybe. I honestly, it's been a minute. I can't remember because the tour was pretty fast paced too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like
that shit's super interesting. I love like all that super old culture stuff. Like to go like I really wanted to go to Europe this summer. Yeah, I have enough credit card points where I can get a ticket, a plane ticket, and I wanted to go to fucking Italy because my cousin lives there. And now all this shit's going on, and I wanted to go see like the old Roman sites and stuff like that. The old like structures and I don't know, like the aqueducts and stuff. It's just all super interesting, and I've seen yeah, exactly. And I've seen I've seen photos from people that have gone to Israel, and I'm not like super religious or anything like that, but it's just like that's like one of the birthplaces of like mankind is like in that whole area, just like Iraq was. Yeah, like Iraq was like where. Yeah, Iraq was supposed to be like where the Garden of Eden or whatever and all that stuff was supposed to be like Iraq, like the birth of mankind there, like religiously, like at least. Obviously, we fucked that up, and then ISIS went through and destroyed a bunch of the structures and shit that even us in the like insurgents were like, all right, look, we get it, we won't blow up the mosque. You don't blow up these structures over here. We're all good. And ISIS comes in and is like, fuck that, blow up that shit, take that shit down. That's a different kind of Islam. Take it down.
Yep.
Those dudes are insane. So your first mute, did you like do anything cool, or was it was just a booze cruise the whole time, huh?
Straight up booze cruise.
Did you training? Where'd you go train at?
We did the training in Djibouti, and I think we were there for like
fucking Djibouti.
Yep.
Arta Beach, baby.
Right there. And I think we were there for like maybe 15 days, something like that. And I was on, not only was I like obviously with artillery and the BLT, but I was also attached. I did a course prior to deployment, the ACM course, which was assessment. I think it's like assessment and consequence management. It was basically like Seabird shit. And me and a handful of dudes from the battery did this like 2.5-week course with the Seaburn guys over on Mainside and learned like how to utilize the like all the different equipment they use, like detecting fucking toxins and shit like that, and then like the different suits, like the level A through like I think fucking level C suits, and then when we were in Djibouti, I would alternate my time between shooting with the battery and then going to Arta Beach and doing like Seaburn drills with the ACM team, and it was kind of cool because like. I mean, like Lance Corporal me was like, "This is high speed" because I had like an earpiece and a fucking like flip flak.
Get some photos of me doing stuff.
Yeah. So, but then like when we like put on our fucking like hazmat suits, and it's like noon in Djibouti.
Oh my fucking god, dude! No way.
Worse. 20 people go down. My buddy, one of my buddies is just this massive, massive guy, and he. I was walking with him because we had like, you know, this obvious like security rounds, and they had me on security rotation. So just while they were doing training, I was supposed to just tag along and make sure like locals didn't fuck with them or whatever. And so I'm walking next to him, and I see him just slowly like leaning forward and like dragging his feet, and then he like drops the like rad detector, and I was like, "Yo, dude, are you okay?" And I just see inside the suit, he's like, ugh. And I was like, "Oh shit!" And I was like, "Yo, safety timeout," and he just collapses.
Silver bullet.
So, and I mean, this guy was probably like 265 pounds, and he's just this massive dude.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't carry this guy back, man. But thank God we're not in combat, you know. So
that's the shitty thing about being a big dude in the military. People are like, "Sorry, bro." I remember in boot camp. I'm a big dude. I remember in boot camp, or maybe it was MCT, them doing some ops school. They're like, "You're a casualty. Now that you got to drag him out of here or whatever." And my dudes ended up leaving me. They're like, "Sorry, bro, we got to leave you." And I'm just like, "Fuck you guys. Like, we can't fucking carry you." And I'm like, God. Yeah, such is life. That'd be shitty.
So once he goes down, right? So we like, everyone starts gathering around him. The staff sergeant that was on the team with us like rips his fucking mask off and just takes like all this bottled water that he had and starts like dumping it all over his head. And he's got all this like high speed, you know, comm equipment like right here sitting on his chest. So the chief warrant officer, that's like the leader of the team, he's like, "Okay, hold up, what about the comm equipment?" And the staff sergeant's like, "Sir, I don't give a fuck about the comm equipment right now. Like, this dude's dying."
Yeah, so like this is like real life right here.
So it took like 4 of us, and we like dragged him back into like, you know, that little restaurant like compound area on Arta Beach.
Yeah,
where we were like based out of.
Yeah.
So we dragged him back in there, and we had him in the shade, and corpsmen are taking a look at him and all that. But yeah, so that was like the crazy little training incident of that whole thing. And then that was like,
people can't understand unless you've been to Djibouti. What month was it? I mean, even in the wintertime, it's hot during the day. It's not like it's cold.
Let's see, when did we leave? I want to say it was like October-ish.
So it's definitely still hot.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking hot there. I think it was like maybe 112 at like the peak.
Yeah, it's like legitimately one of the hottest places in the world. Like everybody's like, "Oh, it was 120 when I was here. It was 125 when I was in Iraq." Like, no, it wasn't, dude. Like the world record is like 119 or something like that. You know, something crazy. But like Djibouti is legitimately like one of the hottest places in the world, and I would much rather be there than be on ship though. You know, because the chow hall there is sick. If you're not on Arta Beach, life sucks. Yeah, Arta Beach kind of sucks. The OP's great. OP Arta is good. You can do some work out there for sure. We did Harriers. We had Harriers obviously come out and do runs. Cobras come out and do runs. LAVs were out shooting their main gun. Like we had a whole package. It was cool. I don't remember if you guys got off on our deployment and shot. No, you guys were in fucking.
Yeah, we did get off. We did a training exercise in Djibouti.
Okay.
And then it was like
old alligator.
Yeah, it was like a couple weeks later we like went back to Djibouti, and and this was like, okay, so when we were on ship after Djibouti, we started getting like a lot of briefs about like Syria and like what was going on over there, and like the what kind of like, and you know, they showed us like a picture of Syria with like different color coordinated like what factions are fighting, and it was basically just a tie-dye fucking shit of every fucking different group. And
there's a whole shit ton of them over there.
Yeah. And then and you know what else is shitty is like, they're like, okay, so if these guys are the good guys, and you look at their flag and it looks like the fucking ISIS flag, and they're like, this is ISIS, and they show the ISIS flag, and there's like one little thing off about the flag that makes it like two completely different trains of thought, you know?
Yeah.
And so we were like, well, that's cool. But then, of course, like at the end of every brief, our CO would get up and he'd be like, all right, guys, this is just in case. Like, we're not saying we're going to Syria, like, yada, yada, yada. And so then they get us off in Djibouti again. And this time we're like taking buses to Camp Lemonnier, which was actually my first time at Camp Lemonnier. So I didn't know what to expect. But that chow hall I would go back to Camp Lemonnier right now just for that chow hall because it was amazing.
It's super good.
Oh yeah,
that's restaurant quality food for sure.
Yeah, and it's like self-serve. Like you can fucking stack your plate with as many fries as you want.
Yeah,
like,
you came off ship, where you're like,
yeah, where I've got like this little Navy guy giving me like a spoonful of rice, and I'm like, okay, dude, cool. But yeah, so we're at Lemonnier, and we're still getting like more classes on like ISIS's like IED tactics and most likely courses of action and most deadly courses of action and all those things. And then me and all the other sergeants had kind of just like backed our CO into a corner, and we were like, sir, like, what's going on? And he was like, all right. We have been called to go into Syria. And so we were like, holy shit, thank you. That's all we need to know. And so we go and we start doing like prepping. We flew into Kuwait camp. Fuck, dude, I was on like 3 different camps in Kuwait. It was like Camp Buring.
Yeah.
And 2 other ones I don't even
remember.
Al-Assad.
Not Al-Assad. That's in Iraq. I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, fucking other Middle Eastern sounding names, But we did the MAPK program, the MU augmentation program in Kuwait, and so that's where we got all our MRAPs, and this was actually kind of I liked it because we got Echo 210s howitzers that they used in Iraq. When they remember it was first announced, I think it was it was before our deployment that Echo 210 was going, and they had a firing battery in is it Mosul?
Is it when Staff Sergeant Carden died? Yeah.
And so what's crazy is when we got their howitzers, like one of the gunner's sights for the howitzer actually had his signature still on it. When he verified it, it was pretty surreal. We were like, holy shit. And that's
this is real, man. Like, this is real shit,
When people started kind of wising up, yeah, this is real. We're going in. So we get all our stuff. I was like the de facto armory chief, so I had to go with the armors and check out we got all brand new 240s and 50 cals. I was with.
And Artie carries guns, man. People don't realize how many machine guns. Artillery has more. An artillery battalion has more machine guns than an infantry battalion.
Yeah, because we're supposed to provide our own defense. Which, while we were in Syria, it actually didn't work like that. We would have usually a couple platoons from a company attached to our position, and they would just dig up about 50% of our perimeter defense, and we supplemented the other half.
Yeah, that whole thing. So before you go any further, that whole thing was. I remember taking one of the first phone calls for that. Burton was over, working his magic in Kuwait doing something else, and that mission came up, and he's like, "Hey, I got an I got an artillery battalion that can do it, and I got already guys that can do it." And he'd already started talking to a guy, and initially they only wanted 1 or 2 guns. They were like, "Hey, can you tow it with a dump truck?" They wanted 10 dudes and a gun, and that was it. And I'm like, I don't know if I could sell that. And we had a pretty good plan going, and then the infantry battalion commander, honestly, I don't remember his name. He was kind of a douche. He would not. He was so against. He was basically trying to send everybody he could. He was adding everybody on, tacking everybody on so everybody could get their deployment on. I get it. You're trying to get your dudes off the ship and stuff like that. And his guys would probably appreciate him getting them off the ship and stuff. But at the same time, the footprint that was initially spoken about with the guys that were over there quickly super enlarged. And it was like, dude, this is getting kind of ridiculous. Because you guys took your whole battery, right?
Yeah. For everyone that was on our ship. We still have mortars platoon that was on the Somerset.
They were also trying to get Burton was also trying to get me off the ship. This is one of the times I got so fucking pissed. They were trying to get me off the ship to go there with the Artie guys as the fires chief, as a targeting dude and stuff like that. And the infantry battalion commander was like, "No, I've got this I've got this Artie lieutenant attached to me, and he can do it." And they're like, "Bro, dude, Staff Sergeant Kramer knows more than any of these dudes, and it's the artillery or captain and I think a lieutenant. There was no enlisted guy there. There was no like chief, that no one that had ever been a chief there as an advisor to be like, hey, that's stupid. We can't do that, you know? Yeah. And so when I found out that he was like basically like, hey, he's an officer and he's going to get his deployment in, you know? And so I got stuck on ship and I was so fucking butthurt about that.
I didn't really like him either. I remember when we, so I was sent from Kuwait into Syria as advanced party, and it was like a handful of people, some from like the CEB, and then some from fucking like the BLT and all that shit, and or CLB, not CEB, but and we were advanced party, and we were just overseeing like all of the main bodies, like gear coming in, all the MRAPs, the howitzers, all that stuff. And just getting it like nice and oriented. And then when the main body came in, I remember him landing there. God, he strode off of the C-17, and
the war is on, gentlemen. The war is on.
Look at this guy. Like, he's walking. He's got his he had like his pack like slung one hand or one arm, and he's just like walking off. And it was like he's like looking around, and I'm just like, this guy is like in a movie right now, man. Like. And then when we finally left the wire and we left the KLZ, he rode with us. Like, he had all his grunts at the fucking TLB, and then like 2 platoons with us. And
let's back up before we get into, because people have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, you're right. I'm going.
So you went to Kuwait. And what was the program? MAP-K. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the MEU augmentation program.
And what that is pre-staged equipment that's already there that we can fall in on. So like the infantry units and the artillery units, and everybody that's attached to a MEU brings all of their equipment on ship, and there are guns on ship as well. But I don't know if it was more expedient or whatever to push you guys forward and use those weapon systems. Whatever. That's what they ended up having you guys do. And I know you had to like take them out of the mothballs, and some of them needed some service and shit like that. Like they were kind of beat up because they'd been stored for a little while. So it's one of those things. Fucking maintenance on a gun has got to be constant, right?
So like
go ahead. And, if you want to go ahead and explain it.
Yeah. So like all of the stuff that like the MRAPs and the crew serves that we got were all like pretty much brand fucking new. Like, we were taking the fucking like packing grease off that shit.
Nice.
But then the howitzers that we got were, like I said, they were Echo 210s howitzers in Iraq. So, and those things, they definitely need some maintenance. But I mean, like, we had an incredible gun line. Like, our chiefs were fucking spot on. They're probably some of the best chiefs I've ever worked with. And we had a really good like gun line to FDC like working relationship. So we were all like really, really tight, and we were able to not only like get everything ready to go and get it into country, but we were like from what like my lieutenants told me, we were like paving the way, kind of, so to speak. Like, obviously other units have done this before, but Syria was kind of like a different beast, and we were just kind of figuring everything out as we went. And we were able to do it, and it was definitely way more expedient than if we were like to take our gear off the ship. That would have been probably a huge logistics hump to get that in there.
Dude,
but
I can't imagine.
I'm glad we did the MAP-K, because it just made it a lot easier on us to get everything where it needed to go. We still brought a lot of our own gear. Like, I brought my like artillery firing solution software and my computers and shit like that. But they actually tried to give us the Echo 210s, like a FATEDS program laptops, but they were like actually outdated compared to what we had now. So we were like, we don't want those.
You get that garbage away.
Yeah.
Was it some contractor?
Yeah, there's a bunch of contractors there that were just trying to, and then it was like one guy was like trying to sell it. He's like, "You guys want this stuff right here?" And I'm like, "Dude, you don't know."
He didn't even have the most up to date stuff.
Yeah, well, it was all Echo 210 stuff. They just, I guess, they folded it into the MAP-K program.
But they never updated it though.
No, it was all still. I mean, like we had to get the patches and the updates for the guns, like mission computers, because they were out of date, and the guns would not have been up to date with the FATEDs that we had at the time. so they wouldn't have been able to communicate. But we were able to get it.
Isn't that crazy? The fucking guns, man. Like, yeah. How touchy are they on comms, like, between each other? Because how does that work? Do they ping off each other?
So the way it works is, like, you'll hook up your FATIDs, which, like, for those that don't know, is just a fancy laptop that has a program on it that allows us to compute firing data. Yeah. And you'll hook up your FATIDs to a radio, and then obviously, like if you were to talk on one radio to another, those radios, one for the FATIDs and one for the gun, are hooked up. One is hooked up to the gun, and then it's just sending information, sending data over the radio to the gun. It is a little touchy, but when you get a lot of, like, practice with it, and you just keep going through, like, CPXs, like communication practice exercise, whatever. Yeah. You can get really. Yeah. Oh my God.
You become almost like a data nerd. When you and the thing too, you'll be like, oh man, I'm having a problem with my computer, and you always have a data guy. It's like, here, let me help you, and I'm like, dude, you don't fucking touch my computer. Like, you don't touch this. This isn't a normal computer, and they don't get it. Yeah. Like, this isn't a normal computer. You can't just come in and do data shit to it.
Looks like a laptop to me, like. But yeah, so it can be finicky, especially like if the software is out of date on one or the other components. Then, like, it usually won't work. And then the one thing that probably irritated me the most about it was that it could never just give you a straightforward message, like, hey, your radio's, like, fucking lost fill. It had to give some cryptic ass message about why you couldn't talk, and then you had to go through, like, all of the troubleshooting steps. Once you started getting used to it, you kind of knew, like, okay, this means that. It was like having its own fucking language. Uh-huh. But we got, like, everything up to date, and while we were in Syria, I had, like, zero issues shooting digitally with the guns. I mean, it was probably the only time in my entire career that it's, like, worked flawlessly, and just.
So, like, you were a full digital loop.
We full dig from the FDC to the gun line for 24 hours a day. And the whole time we were there for, like, about 3 months when we were actually shooting.
And you never used backup comm, or you never used like black gear?
So we had Angras, actually. We were using 2 wires. Oh my God,
dude! They are still using Angras?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Alpha batteries swears by Angras. They will not, and it's because we use them in Syria. So then, like, of course,
they're still proven. Like, bro, they've been around since Vietnam, man.
We used the Angras, but it was actually, like, I mean, I would use it to, when I sent them missions, just if they needed, like, to verify something, they would call me on it. But yeah. I was not actively using it to give them fire missions. I was just sending them down digitally.
Those Angras have probably seen more combat over, like, 50 years than, most of the people that are in the Marine Corps right now. Fucking Angras. Drop test it. Gotta pick it up and drop it.
We had our fucking wire dogs, like, whenever an Angra would go down, I mean, they're, like, taking this thing apart, and it's like the like TM is like, stick a piece of gum in it, see if it works. Like, these things are fucking so just, like, robust and fucking, like, they're the craziest. Like, I watched one of my comm guys, like, take one apart, fuck with the batteries a little bit, and then he had, like, a piece of paper that he folded, like, super thick, and he just, like, jammed it in this little port and then closed it back up, and it was, like, worked, like, loud and clear.
What would you describe an Angra as? It's like almost like a walkie-talkie, but with a handset, but like a speaker and a handset. Or well, I guess you have to attach a handset, but
you just basically picture, like, a little, I would say, like, a little fucking ammo can that is a radio, and then you just attach a handset to the top, and you run 2-wire. You connect your fucking 2-wire to your port, and you run it to either another Angra or to a fucking one of the, like, hell boxes, the connectors that has, like, all of them.
Yeah.
That were like each in the middle, and then you run the rest of the wires to each fucking other Angra, and you just
Were your wire dogs burying the cable when you guys were in Syria constantly? Were you guys moving constantly?
When we first started out, we were moving a decent bit. And then once we started, like, no shit, like, supporting the assault on Tabaqa Dam, that's when we were, like, kind of static a little bit. We did, like, some survivability moves because we didn't know exactly if we assumed that they could, like, figure out where we were.
Yeah.
So we would move here and there a little bit, but yeah, my ops chief had our wire dogs. He's like, you're gonna dig in the wires.
God, Good,
So,
motherfuckers. It's your fucking job. They don't even have wire dogs anymore, do they?
Nope, not anymore.
Now it's just regular comm dudes. Now the regular radio operators are out there digging.
Yeah.
So before you went into Syria, did you guys do any kind of training shooting or anything like that, or did you guys go in without any kind of like live fire training?
Well, so we did the alligator dagger in Djibouti.
Yeah.
But that was like
it was a couple months, right?
It was like, I think we were only there for like 10 days.
I thought it was maybe that's what it was. When the exercise ended, you guys stayed there, and it was like less than 2 weeks. Then you guys moved from there to Kuwait, right? And then, so you never shot in Kuwait?
We did do a little. Actually, yeah, it's all coming back to me. So we did like a little bit of a shoot in Kuwait, which was like super easy because Kuwait's pretty flat. So like a lot of the things that like affect shooting artillery, like in the States or like even in Djibouti, it was like almost non-existent there. It was pretty cool. But we did that, and then we got like we did like cruiser ranges. I finally got to shoot a fucking 203 in the fleet.
Oh, you never shot a 203?
I shot one in MCT, and then I had one for the longest time.
What a fucking
and then I finally
loser.
shot it. I know, right? and they were HEDP rounds too. It wasn't no fucking Cheeto puff.
Yeah, Cheeto rounds. Yeah.
Because we got the those grenade launcher sights, those fucking giant clunky sights that had like a laser on them, so you could range find your target. And we had those on our fucking M4s and shit, and we were sighting those in, making sure they were good. So I got like 5 fucking.
What? I have no idea what you're talking about. Rangefinder sights?
Yeah. So it's like a little red dot, right? And it has like it's like a.
On your rifle?
Yeah. It attached to the rail, and it was like this little box that had a little red dot, like an RMR or something on there, and then it had the rest of it was like a laser rangefinder. So you could press the laser to aim your fucking red dot at the target, and you press the fucking laser, and it comes back, and it's like, okay, it's fucking 400 meters away or 300 meters away or whatever. And then there was a little knob on the side where you could adjust the sight to be at 300 meters, and then you would just level out like the sight as you're looking so that your fucking rifle's like pointed up, and then you'd shoot. And like 9 times out of 10, you were on target. Like it was actually really effective. It was just super clunky and like
I never saw that for the rifle.
Yeah, it was I had never seen it until like before that deployment, and that's like when we started getting them.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean it was definitely a cool concept, but it was just like the way that they were, like they hung off the rifle and they're just like this little box.
How accurate do you think it was?
When I shot it, I was shooting at the targets I shot at were like 200 meters ish away, and I would say my fucking grenades were impacting like maybe 5 to 10 meters away from them. So I'd say they're pretty accurate. I mean, like I'm not tooting my own horn. It's just the laser really did all the work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say they were pretty accurate. So we did that for the training, and then obviously like also. In between training events, we were getting like classes and briefs on Syria and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, dude, that's getting ready to go into your first like combat zone. You know, that feeling, it's different because you've already done one deployment, so now you're like one of the more senior guys. So people are looking at you. You know, like.
And I'm like, I don't fucking know what's going on.
Yeah, you know, you kind of have to like. You have to be humble because this is also your first time doing it, but you also have to be able to like break away from that nervousness or whatever and like step into that leadership role. Or what was your role within the FDC? What were you doing at that time?
So I was the assistant operations chief, and then while we were in Syria, I actually was acting operations chief because we split it into 2 shifts so we could shoot like 24 hours.
Yeah.
So so acting operations chief, I'd call it.
That's fucking sick, dude. So when you were getting ready to go in, did you guys fly in or did you guys drive in? I can't remember.
We flew in. We took C-17s from Kuwait, and they flew us directly into the KLZ, so the Kobani landing zone. Mm-hmm. And it was like this little Army like Air Force base there, and it was it was pretty tiny. They had a giant like dirt landing strip that they like had to constantly just pave. so that planes could actually land there. And then it was maybe, it was small, and it was just like, like HESCO walls and shit. But they had, like the Army has like nicer things. So they had like these tents that we actually ended up helping build a couple of them while we were on advance party. But they were like these actually really nice tents, and they had like these bunk bed cots that we all set up and stuff.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
they themselves had like AC and heat. And while we were there, it was fucking freezing. So the heat was actually money.
Dude, it gets fucking cold in that area. People don't realize how cold it gets in the desert and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. There was one day where like, it was like our third day there, and it was snowing in the morning, and we didn't have like happy suits or anything yet. So what ended up actually happening was a bunch of the Kurdish forces like donated their like Gore-Tex tops, but their Gore-Tex tops are lined with that like like the Korean jackets have that liner.
Yeah.
Yeah, so their Gore-Tex tops are lined with that liner, so they were pretty warm. And the Kurdish forces love our fucking Marine like woodland digital pattern.
You just trading it up with them?
Yeah, they were like, well, they sent us like a fucking box of them, and they were like, here you go, like, wear these. And then I wanted to keep it. I tried to, but they were like, no, like, turn it back in once the happy seats came in. So like I got
what? Yeah. Dude, come on, we'll give them money for it.
Tried everything under the sun, but
that's one of those things though. If you brought it back and you wore it, you'd be like, I can never wear this out in public. Like, what am I gonna do with this? Unless you're a hunter or something like that.
Yeah. But I mean, they were pretty warm, and then, but yeah, like the day it was snowing, we didn't have any of that yet. So I was wearing this Army fleece that I bought at the PX in Kuwait. That was actually super warm. I still have it. It's fucking amazing.
Huh.
But I'm walking out. I'm in like fucking Marine frogs, and then I have this Army fleece on, and like all the Army dudes looking at me like, what the fuck, But I was like, it's cold, dude. And I'm walking to the little like shack chow hall they had, and the fucking snowflakes that were falling there, I mean, they were like this big, like just these globs of snow.
That's
and like
crazy.
one lands on like the brim of my boonie cover and like sinks it down. I was like, what the fuck is this, dude?
Was it sticking?
Yeah, it was sticking for a little while, but then it cleared up, and the sun like out, so it warmed up a little bit, and the snow went away. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. I'd never expected to be like that cold in the desert. I've always heard like, oh, it gets cold in the desert. I'm like, yeah, sure, because you're so used to how hot it is in the day, probably. But no, it was just fucking cold.
Miserable. The coldest I've ever been was in 29 Palms. I've been to Alaska in the wintertime, and the coldest I've ever been was on an OP in 29 Palms. Just up in the mountains, eating the wind. Fucking, we were shooting from 2200 to 06, and it was it's like sustained like 30-mile-an-hour winds. And we were just miserable. It was like November. It was the end of November, so it was fucking freezing. I almost called to get us off the OP. I was like, dude, I thought my dudes were going to get hypothermia, like legitimately. Yeah. And I made them tough it out. One of them was like, we're going to fucking die up here. This is bullshit. I'm like, we're not going to fucking die. Shut the fuck up. It was shitty, dude. I'm like, fucking wrap your legs around mine. It's fine. It's fine. We're staying warm. Oh, man. When you're miserably cold, dude, it's the worst.
I never thought I'd be able to, like, feel cold, like, on my bones.
You can't sleep. You don't want to do anything. You want to go internal.
I remember there was one night when we were in Syria, and I was changing over with my staff sergeant, so he was taking over and I was going to bed, and I get in my fucking hole, and I put my tarp up like over. I had a nice little like tent thing going on,
Yeah.
And I guess I don't know what happened. It got knocked over some way somehow at night, and I woke up at like 3 a.m. and just I was completely submerged, like my sleeping system, everything up to my chest. I was just wet, and I was like, no fucking way! Like, you've got to be kidding me. And then I get up, and as soon as I stand up, the wind just hits me, and it was like instantly everything in my body just like froze. Like, it like hurt my heart. Like, I felt like my heart stopped, and I was like, oh my god, this is the most horrible thing ever. And I'm like standing there trying to change out of these wet, soaking frogs that I was in, and I put on my other pair, and then I just I said, fuck everything that's right here, and I grabbed my rifle and went into the front of an MRAP and just tried to sleep in there for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
But yeah, no joy, obviously.
MRAPs are uncomfortable too. Yeah.
Yeah.
For those that don't know what frogs are, that's the flame resistant top and bottom that you wear in like combat zones, so that if you hit by an IED, like lessens the chance that your uniform is not gonna melt to your skin or something like that. It's this kind of stuff that like race car drivers would wear. It's the best. It's in the summertime. It's the best because it's nice and light. It's cool. In the wintertime, you're fucked because there's no point in even wearing them because you're putting everything else on top of it that would melt to you anyway. Yeah. So you guys flow. I thought someone told me you guys had a DFAC or something there, like a nice chow hall. I didn't realize you guys had like a little hut.
I mean, if there was a DFAC there, the Army and Air Force kept it a really good secret. Well, okay, actually, no, you're right. So they set up one. They set up a DFAC. Like it was still like a tent, but it was like a really extravagant tent.
Yeah.
But they were setting it up like right as we pushed out. And just went into fucking Syria.
Probably similar for those that went through there to Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan. They had it looks like a big ass base X tent system, but you go in and there's like a whole food line and like a whole area to sit down with like picnic tables or whatever to sit down and eat and stuff. And it was great. You go in and grab little sandwiches out of the fridge. Kyrgyzstan was your last chance to do anything before you went into Afghanistan. And it was on your way out, it was your first opportunity to drink because you could get 2 beers. In Kyrgyzstan.
I mean that shit was stacked to the roof with like pallets of like Coke and Sprite and fucking.
Oh yeah, it's
and all that.
It's ridiculous, man.
What's the non-alcoholic beer?
Yeah, O'Doul's and shit. They had St. Pauli Girl. You used to. When I was in Iraq in 2009, and I think you could probably do it. You could have done it in Leatherneck and stuff, and where you were at in like Djibouti and Kuwait, you can go, and a lot of times you can buy 1 case of near beer. That's what you call it, the near beer, and you got 2 cases for free. And dudes would be like 4 months into a deployment, be like, "Fuck this, I'm gonna go get some beer," and they sit there and play beer pong with this near beer. Like, you're not getting drunk, you're just drinking near beer. And I'm like, dude, fuck that, man.
Placebo effect just takes over, and you got a bunch of drunk acting Marines walking around.
They probably do it for the alcoholics. The dudes, so they don't fucking die while they're gone for 7 months. Because 7 months where you're just automatically cut off from everything.
Oh, yeah.
That's something you just got out. I told Farrell. Do you remember Michael Farrell from the Anglo Detachment on RMU?
Honestly, no.
You'll have to come over sometime when this quarantine, because we're not very far from each other. You'll have to come over sometime and do a podcast in person. I know we talked about it, but this obviously quarantine bullshit. Not bullshit. It's not bullshit. I shouldn't say that. It's not bullshit. You'll have to come over sometime. But I don't know what I was getting ready to say about him. But anyway, the stuff that you can get at the chow halls is just ridiculous sometimes. But I know how it is, like, when you're getting ready to leave that place, and they're like, hey, man, get what you can because we're getting ready to leave. You're getting ready to go forward to the FOB, or to the patrol base. And you guys convoyed out and then kind of built one, right? So you want to explain what happened? Like, you landed in, was it KLE or KES?
KLZ.
KLZ.
Yeah, so we landed in there, and we did all the Advon stuff, getting the things ready and everything. Then when the main body came in, we had another week and a half of just prepping and getting all our trucks outfitted, cruisers mounted, all that stuff, getting our ammo loadouts and everything. And then the artillery battery and the grunt platoons that we had attached to us just pushed out, and we were just in the middle of nowhere.
What kind of ammo were you carrying with artillery?
So we had we shot more different types of ammo there than anything. So we had HE rounds, we had white phosphorus, smoke, XCals, we had Illum, and we had the IR Illum, which I thought was going to be way cooler, but it actually just looks like Illum.
Yeah, you can still see it. It's like, I see that, what? Just kind of a shitty Illum. All right, thanks, man.
And then we had the HE wrap, the rocket assisted fucking HE rounds.
Did you guys shoot that very often?
We would. So the thing that was not, I wouldn't say it was bad, but we shot a lot of like Charge 5, not because we were like so far away. It was just because the airspace there was so like heavily crowded. That we had to keep our max ordnance, the highest peak that the round will reach, like super low. So we were shooting like 12 to 15 clicks away, but we were shooting Charge 5, and we had basically almost, direct firing into like where Tabaqa Dam was located and shit.
Jesus, dude, that's so bad for the gun crews to just shoot that over and over again.
And when I wasn't like off sheathing in the FDC, I would go down to the gun line because I wanted to, like everyone wants to go fucking chuck rounds and pull lanyard and shit.
Dude, and this is your time to shoot a combat fucking. Did you guys do anything special? Did you get that primer?
I did. I actually have my trifecta like right here above my head. It's my first primer when I popped my cherry, my combat primer, and then my last primer before I got out.
Nice, man. That's cool.
Yeah. So they're all sitting right here. I got a whole like memorabilia thing of like my time in right on my desk.
I never got to fire the 777.
It is a lot. It's really cool. I think the first time I did it, I was like super excited. Mm-hmm. And when I shot it, I think we were only shooting like Charge 2, so it's still a big bang. But like when you're expecting to get slapped in the face, with just this like concussive wave, and then you shoot it and you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. And
you don't realize it happened. You're like, wait, did it just go off?
Did it shoot? Yeah, like so. But it's definitely cool. I would say when you're actually the best time to shoot it is when they're actually like direct firing. So like you're straight up, like there's no FDC computations. It's just the howitzer crew, and they're like sighting in on a target and direct firing on it. That's like the coolest. Yeah. In my opinion.
That's cool. Yeah, I never got to shoot it. I shot the 120 back when we were testing them. I was part of the testing team.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Marine Corps. I helped bring that shit on board, and now it's gone.
Yeah. We had it for like what, 10 years maybe?
I was a mechanic then. And I worked on the vehicles. I love that little truck, man. People hate on it, but if you have mechanics that take care of it, which that's the problem. I told them too. I'm like, this shit's not marine proof. You got air ride suspension where I can fuck with each wheel. I'm going to be fucking with that as I'm going down the road and shit, like rear steer. Yeah, that shit wasn't compatible.
I did all that. I was before my first deployment, I was in mortars platoon, and but I hated those vehicles specifically because I'm 6'4", and I had to ride in the back of the LSV, the like longer one.
Yeah.
And that was just I think my knees are still fucked up just from that.
Like, I always drove it. I think when I sit in a passenger seat of a car, I always have my feet kind of close up to me, and I think it's from riding in tactical vehicles, not being able to like stretch out. But I have a funny picture of me inside the LSV when I was like a PFC or a Lance Corporal. I'll have to find it and put it on Instagram. But yeah, those are cool. But that's crazy. So you guys are shooting RAP, huh? That doesn't fucking XCal shoot farther than RAP though? Like, why would you even need RAP?
So, yes, but I guess if I had to assume, it's because we didn't have that much XCal. I think we had like 16 total rounds of XCal like on hand.
Okay.
And we had a lot more RAP, and we also just had we actually had the PGK fuses, the precision guidance kits. So it was like a little mini XCal fuse that you could just strap on a regular dumb round, and there was a GPS. It had tiny little canards on it, the little fins that like stabilize it.
Yeah.
And it was rated to be accurate within.
No, let's keep that off the air.
Oh, okay, yeah, I guess so. I didn't know. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate they are. Probably pretty fucking accurate.
They're accurate. They were requested more than XCal.
Really?
Put it that way. Yeah. Well, not that they were more accurate. It's just that they were a bigger explosion because it was a regular 155 round versus XCal, which XCal has less TNT in it than a regular HE round.
I wonder if it's cheaper too, just because you're strapping that kit on rather than buying, because an XCal round is kind of expensive.
Yeah, they are. I think it definitely is, and I think that was like the main factor behind it was just like cost conservation and ammo conservation. So you're not shooting too much expensive. We did shoot some XCal, which I really enjoyed. We had one fire mission there was like a tower on the dam that had a dishka in it, and it was like laying down some pretty effective fire on the Kurds. And they hit us up, and they were like, "Could you guys put an X?" Because there was a hole in the roof of the tower, and they were like, "Could you guys put an XCal round in there?" And we're like, "We'll fucking try."
Let's
And
give
so
it a shot.
so they gave us like what we needed, and we shot it, and then they sent us the fucking drone footage, pictures, and it was, you just see a tower with a hole, and then the next frame, fucking right through it, just blew up the entire room. So
they're super accurate.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool.
When guys were using them in Afghanistan, did you ever go to Afghanistan?
No.
Okay, when guys were using them in Afghanistan, when they first started coming out, they had to get through the test rounds, right? They had the initial lot, and those malfunctioned a lot, but we finally shot all those out. So now you guys have like the regular ones, but then they were super sensitive. They would be like super careful how they loaded them and everything like that, because they were afraid to fuck it up, because there was a lot that like just dudded out, went to the BIP, the ballistic impact point. Yeah. Shit like that, So now they're way more accurate, which still, I mean, it blows my mind that we're getting rid of cannons to put in rockets. I don't know, man. Yeah. You get 6 shots per pod, and who knows how long it takes. It's got to take at least 15 or 20 minutes to reload a pod.
Yeah.
And it's got to.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know much about HIMARS, but it's definitely, I tell you, it's way more time consuming than just cannons. Like,
yeah, having a Lance Corporal run around over here, like, hey, run fucking rounds,
Exactly.
That's crazy. Yeah. So when you guys got there, what was like you pull out, like, oh shit, like what was like the tension, because there's tension. You're coming out of the base for the first time. You're like, oh shit, here we go. It's go time.
So, it was actually pretty. So we leave the wire, and they're like passing over the fucking comms, like, hey, everybody, like, condition 1, let's go. And so, I'm sitting in the back of the MRAP. I've got like 4 Marines back there with me, and we're all just like, and I was like, oh shit, like, here we go.
Here we go. Oh, you guys did it in the vehicle?
Yeah, I don't know why, they just fucking did it. But yeah, so we were like, fuck it. And then we're like going down the road a little bit, and we're like, like the MRAPs have that like comm system on the inside, so like everyone in there has like a headset. You can talk, because those things are fucking loud.
I've never found one that actually worked. That's crazy. If your guys worked.
Yeah, all ours, they worked. It was awesome. So we we're like rolling through, and I can't really see much out of the back, and so I'm just kind of sitting there, and I'm like waiting, like we're probably gonna roll over an IED, I think, like. And all of a sudden, my fucking staff sergeant goes boom on the fucking PA. And I was like, dude, not cool.
What a dick, man.
Oh, God, it was so funny, though. And we're all laughing our asses off. We didn't, we had like 0 encounter. We actually were like super fortunate. Like, we didn't lose any Marines, like from the like entire task force.
Yeah.
We didn't have any casualties. As far as I'm tracking, there were no casualties. I brought back all my Marines.
Did you guys encounter any IEDs?
No, but when we ripped out with the unit that replaced us, like the day we finally completed the full swap, we were on our way back to the KLZ, and I remember we got there. We put all our packs in our tents and stuff. We went and got chow, and then we were kind of hanging out. And then, like an hour after that, the fucking one of the guys from the unit that ripped out with us got put into the medical area because they hit an IED. Fucking one of their trucks. Yeah, so it was like it was a small one from what I heard. So like they got concussed, but there was no extreme damage. Nobody got killed. But yeah, it was just insane because we finally rip out with them and we head back to the KLZ, and then it was like 2 hours later they were like, yeah, fucking they hit an IED and fucking.
Dude, there is nothing scarier than thinking you're about to get blown up, because there's nothing I can do about it. I was, one time I was driving in the bazaar, and They had me driving as a JTAC for whatever fucking reason. Oh, my driver went home on emergency leave, so I needed a driver. I did not want to be a driver. Anyway, we were going through the bazaar and saying, and crazy fucking cycles everywhere, cars weaving out. There's no traffic laws. There's no traffic laws in Afghanistan. It's like horns, everything's, there's semis going in and out of shit. And we're cruising through there, and I get to the northern part of the bazaar, and I'm getting ready to go across this bridge at the northern part. And all of a sudden, across this bridge, this fucking white car just stomps on it, dude. It's just fucking flying. And it was like the day before, a couple days before, maybe the week before, a British vehicle got blown up, an armored vehicle got blown up and killed 6 dudes by a VBID, so vehicle-borne IED.
Yeah.
And I'm driving, and this dude just punches it and then swerves towards us. Like, he comes to point at us, and I'm like, I go like that. I look, oh, shit. And my captain, both were like, oh, fuck. And then what it was, there's always speed bumps, and there was a gap in the middle. He's trying to get his wheel through real quick so he didn't hit, one wheel on the speed bump. But it looked like he was swerving to hit us. Dude, I looked over at my captain. I was like, dude, I thought we were done, man. He's like, me too.
Shit.
That fucked with me more than a lot of stuff. Like, that was probably one of the things that messed me up the most. Like, for a little while, it was just thinking, like, holy shit. Like, if that would have blown up, I mean, what are you going to do? There's nothing I could have done about that. And he would have hit me, too. He would have hit my corner of the vehicle.
Yeah, that's
super sketchy, man. So that's good. I'm glad you guys didn't encounter it. What unit replaced you?
It was Fox 210.
Okay.
Replaced us, yeah.
Yeah.
So they fell in, and then they got Raqqa, so they were like assisting the assault on Raqqa. So they were shooting like way more than
they're the
did.
ones that were in the Marine Corps times, right? They're like, they shot out their barrels. Yeah, you guys get forgotten about because you were there early and you didn't get to do a full cycle there. That was the issue. If you would have done a full cycle, because you guys shot a lot,
for a
couple thousand rounds.
Yeah, actually, shit, I have a piece of paper that I wrote down when I was in Syria, like everything. I think it was like 4,500 rounds, like a little more than that. But for the amount of time that we were shooting, we shot a lot. And
there are 0811s listening to this just drooling like, 4,500 rounds in a combat zone? Like, God. Pull string, go boom.
The one of the coolest, I think, fire missions that we had was actually our very first one. So we there was on Tabaqa Dam, which is I'd have to look at a map, but it's in fucking Syria, and
this is a huge deal. The whole Tabaqa Dam thing was a huge deal because they were threatening to blowing it up, and that would have caused a flood that would have fucked up Syria, and it would have gone all the way to Iraq, right? When did the flooding fucked up Iraq too?
It was supposed to, when we were shooting and in support of it, we were not allowed to use point detonating fuses on the dam. It all had to be airburst.
Yeah.
So, but the first fire mission that we did was actually on this beachhead that ISIS had set up that was located in the vicinity of Tabaqa Dam, because the Kurds' initial plan was to go in and do an amphibious assault on the dam and the surrounding city.
What, really?
Yeah, that's what we got told.
Okay.
And I mean, it was like I think they were just gonna have little.
Good luck, bro.
Dinghies, like little rowboats, basically, fucking.
It works, man. It works. Plenty of people have done it in history.
Yeah, the SOF advisors were like, "No, you guys should not do that.
Yeah, this is what
I would do." So they ended up scrapping that idea, but ISIS still had this giant beachhead defensive position, and I mean, this thing I think was from what they told us, because we shot a linear sheaf on it, and I think it was like a click long. And it was just like How'd you
shoot a linear sheaf that was a click long?
So it's all Afatids does all that. You can just select what type of sheaf you want to use.
So it wasn't all in one. It was like a succession.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Down the line.
Each round would go down the line.
Huh, I never shot one like that.
Yeah. So we drum up this fire mission, and we were waiting for ever. So it was supposed to the fire mission was supposed to happen, and then the Kurdish assault was going to happen directly after it. But they were telling us hold off, wait, and we were waiting for probably 5 hours just to shoot this mission.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, what the fuck is going on? And I think I'd been up at that point. I'd been up for over 48 hours. because we were just moving and fucking, yeah.
That's the best.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, they come up and they're like, all right, the Kurdish guy's food truck is here, so they're going to eat and then they're going to do it. And I was like, we've been waiting on their fucking food truck. Are you kidding me? I was so mad.
Wait on the roach coach to show up. They got to get a breakfast burrito real quick before they fucking head out. It's okay, Poppy. Don't worry.
I was so fucking pissed. But then when I actually got food from their food truck, like they brought it to our position one day, I was like, I would have waited.
Dude, Middle Eastern people make such good food.
Oh, God, it's so good.
There's some weird shit. I'm not going to lie. There's some times I was eating with the Afghans, like, I don't know what this is, but it tastes really good. Like, it's better than what I'm eating right now.
Yeah. So once they start the assault, or once we kick off the fire mission, and we're shooting, and I can't remember exactly, but I think it was like every gun had like 10 rounds. And each gun was responsible. So the way we broke it down was each gun was responsible for we had 4 guns out there, and each gun was responsible for 500 meters of that, or 250 meters of that beachhead. So obviously, it was broken up into 4 pieces, and we just had a different linear mission to each gun for the sections of the beachhead. Did
you have a full battery?
No, we had a full cannons platoon and 4 howitzers.
So 4 howitzers total.
Yeah, but like a full battery would be 6, but we only had 4.
Okay.
So while we're shooting, and obviously like it was pretty flat out there, so you could actually see the impacts downrange, and we're watching, and it's just like each time you saw like one of our rounds explode, there was like a dozen other little sympathetic explosions from all the munitions that have been stockpiled on this fucking defensive line.
Jeez.
So this whole thing, and we're like hearing like radio transmissions and shit. They're saying like the entire beach is on fire, and I was like, oh my God, that is so cool.
Like fuck you, ISIS.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was probably like the perfect way to like start everything off.
Were you like, oh shit, here we go for real? Like this is a fucking for real calculation right now.
When I sent it down to the gun line and we were just waiting, once I told them to fire, and then, from that point, it's like the gun line kind of just does their thing. I don't really have to do much. So I got out of my MRAP and I started watching, and I'm just watching all these explosions on the fucking horizon. And it was like pretty late at night too, or I guess I should say it was early in the morning. But
are there any videos of you guys firing them the first time? Somebody had to have gotten a video of that.
I think so. They were actually super like strict on like electronics being brought. But I mean, we had combat camera there, but when I reached out, I couldn't get anything.
I bet all that stuff's classified. Because it was a classified mission at the time. This was
at the time, yeah.
Like once it started happening, people knew we were in Syria then, but like at the time, it was pretty classified.
Yeah, like actually, at one point, some like aspects of ISIS didn't even know that it was like American artillery shooting at them. Some of the soft guys were telling us that they were like intercepting transmissions, and it was like the ISIS dudes were saying like the airplanes have a lot more bombs than usual, and it's just like artillery was fucking dropping on them. So it was
raining on you now.
It was pretty hush hush at the time.
How much WP did you guys shoot?
A good bit. We used it, just like for like smoke screening movements and stuff like that. And we used a lot of smoke, like the Mike 825, which is also WP, but it's just a lot less of it, so it burns out before it ever like comes in contact with
wedged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we shot a good bit. We obscured a lot of movement and stuff like that. So
that's cool, man. You got that's the thing. It sucks for guys that joined and didn't get to ever do their job for real. And when I say for real, I mean like in combat, if they wanted to. Because there's a lot of guys that are seriously bummed about that. They feel like they wasted their time in the military. But it's like, you know what, man? Like, even if you did 4 years as like an 0811 and you never got to go into combat, like you got to shoot a fucking howitzer for 4 years. I know it got old probably after the. Can you imagine that? You're like, this fucking sucks. Boom! Like I'm shooting this.
Yeah.
What a horrible day at work. I'm sitting out here getting sunshine. Of course, then you have those shitty like rain days and stuff like that. But grunts or cannoneers live on their fucking gun, man.
Oh yeah.
The grunts Grunts over 360 used to talk to me about going to the field all the time. I'm like, bro, we were in the field constantly. Like when I was with 210, we were always in the field.
Yeah. I When I was like first starting out in artillery, I was super jealous of like 0-11s because they get to like shoot the cannons and they have this like I would like go down the gun line and they have like these super cool like setups, and I'm just in like this fucking tent doing math like a nerd.
Yeah, and, you got an officer over your shoulder all the time.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm just like, oh my god, this sucks. But once I like started becoming in charge of my own FDC, and I could I could implement like what I wanted, then it was like a lot better. But yeah, it was. I just lost my train of thought.
No, it's cool shooting guns. It's cool shooting.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of fun. I definitely miss it. I miss like being in the FDC and shooting. Like it's only been a month that I've been out, but
you're barely out, man.
I miss my Marine man the most.
That's what it is. The dudes. Mm-hmm. My buddy Michael Hanthorne, he's on episode 3, I believe, and he just did one also recently, like 20 something, when I was home for Christmas. He he was ready to get out. He was like one of those dudes like, fuck the Marine Corps, I'm done. Da, 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 da. He got NJP right before he got out. He talks about he got a DUI on base and stuff, driving a Supra like 90 miles an hour on base or something like that. Because at Camp Lejeune, there's a big ass road called Marine Road, and there's never anybody on that fucking road. And it was the middle of the night, and he thought he'd be fine. Anyway, he got out the same time I was at my MOS school, and he got out right on the same time I was going home for Christmas leave. That's what it was. And I rode home with him. And he was just like, dude, I already miss it, man. Fuck. And he like kicked it around, maybe coming back in for a long time. And then the whole tattoo, he had sleeves tattoos, because he was in like when it was still allowed. And they wouldn't let him come back in for that and shit. Like, yeah, dude, you start to miss it. You're like, fuck. And what you're going to find, man, is you're going to have conversations with people and you're going to start feeling like an asshole because you're going to be like, oh, yeah, Israel. Yeah, I've been there. Like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I had experience. Like, oh, yeah, I've been to Hong Kong. Yeah, I know you want to go down to, was it Lai Kwai Fong? If you want to go to Hong Kong and party, go to Lai Kwai Fong or go to Kowloon, Did you get to do any Liberty ports on ours?
Yes.
Did you do Singapore?
Yeah, we did. Singapore was the first one, right?
Singapore was rowdy.
Yeah, Singapore. I did Singapore twice on my first meal. Once on the way out and once on the way back.
Oh, really?
And it was super. Like, we went to Clark Key, the fucking little
Clark Key, man.
Yeah, that's where it's at. And
that's
then
on
our deployment, I'm like a sergeant now, and I've got like my sergeant peer group, and I'm telling them like we're going to Singapore. I'm like, dude, we got to go to Clark Key. Like, we have to go there, and it's so sick, And then we get our first day of Libo, and I take these dudes out to Clark Key, and it's just like dead.
Oh, really?
I was like, what is this? Like, where is everybody? And I don't know if there was like something going on or something, and they were like, wow, really cool, dude. Like,
thanks, man. Thanks for the hot tip.
I was like, you don't get it. It's fucking awesome here.
I've never seen Clark Key dead. I've been there like 3 times now.
I don't know if there was something going on. It was fucking dead.
For everyone listening, Clark Key, get a fucking hotel right there on that little X. There's an X of like bars and restaurants. You can see it from a map. Get a hotel right next to that. That's where you want to be, because the Mew is going to put you on a Liberty anyway, so you're going to have to be back by 12 or 1. So you don't want to have to walk, a half a mile or get a cab. Like, that's lame. So get a spot right there. They're actually not too bad. Singapore overall is super expensive, though.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking super expensive. Like, I think a pitcher of beer was like $20, $25 or something like that. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, what the fuck? That is like one of the most expensive countries in the world, though.
Mm-hmm. And I went to Dubai. It was one of our Libo ports on my first deployment. And that shit, holy shit.
I was not impressed. Like, Dubai was cool, but it was like, I mean, if you want to go shopping, if you want to go to a mall, because everything's in a mall. And
Did you check out the Irish Village?
Yeah, that was cool. So I didn't even know about it until I had to stand shore patrol. And I was there, and I'm like, and I missed it. The day before was St. Patty's Day. I could have went to it on St. Patty's Day, which would have been fucking sick.
Oh, man.
That's honestly the only good place I saw in Dubai. Like I said before, you always hear about these malls. You see them on TV. It's like, oh, this one has a fucking ski thing. This one has a wave pool. This one has... I mean, if you're into that, I personally was like, oh, shit, they have Ferrari World. Like, I want to go to Ferrari World. Lame. Don't waste your fucking money. It's lame.
I didn't go to it.
for the people listening, the world's fastest roller coaster is there. It's super cool, but other than that, like once you do that like 3 or 4 times, you're like, dude, I can't believe I spent $70 here and traveled out because it's not in town. It's like,
oh yeah,
you have to travel outside of this like city center. And we fucking got on a bus. We went the wrong way and ended up getting on some bus for people that transit to and from work rather than drive. And we went to some suburb. We got dropped off in some suburb, and we're like, where the fuck are we at? We had to get a cab and come back.
God.
Yeah, we're in some suburb in Dubai somewhere, like where I don't even know what's going on. But fucking, see, you can't talk about shit like that with regular people. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, I went out to college bars, and I got drunk, and that happened. Like, okay. Now imagine doing that in a foreign land. No one speaks the language.
Why are you always one-upping us?
Dude, it feels like that. It becomes that. You know, you got to find a good, solid group of veterans that you can talk to, because that's like, and dude, because you have shared experiences. You can't. No one can understand the bitter cold of 29 Palms in November. You know, out there in the field, shooting and moving, communicating, doing our thing, unless you've been there and you felt that wind and you just felt that frigidness, or there in the summertime when it's so fucking hot and you're in the cans, you're in those Quonset huts, you know, if you're back on Wilson, you know, and it's fucking so hot, you just can't get out of the heat.
Yep.
Yeah. Or you know what's the worst part about Twin Palms is the wintertime when you're in the Quonset huts and you have to piss in the middle of the night. And you wake up and you're like, I got to walk all the way up the fucking hill to get to the pisser, you know? Oh, it's just like, wait, can I just lay here and go back to sleep? No.
I'll tell you right now, I was the guy that just pissed in a water bottle.
Oh, you disgusting thing.
I was not getting out of my sleeping system for anything.
That's so gross. I'm not going to lie and say I never pissed next to a Quonset hut, though.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going all the way up that fucking hill. Oh my God, that's the worst, man. Fucking 29 Palms, what a shithole.
Yeah.
So you were only at Camp Pendleton out there in Polgus, huh?
Yep, 8 years of it.
The fleas. I didn't know. I didn't know Polgus meant fleas for the longest time.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I can't believe your artillery is named the Fleas. Like that's a horrible fucking name. That place is a shithole, though. It is pretty run down. Well, it's nicer now. It used to be super shitty.
I remember when I first got there, and like my shop was like in this run-down old building. Like you could like taste the asbestos in the air. Like I was like, "What is this?" You know, and
like just claim it. Just claim it on your fucking VA. You'll be fine.
And then like when we got back from our first deployment, we got a brand new shop, and that was like super sick because it was like a giant like Quonset hut like in Camp Wilson, but just filled with like arcade. All the batteries were in there, all the batteries FTCs.
Yeah. And
each one just had like its own cage and then its own office space like directly across from it. So we they upgraded a lot of stuff in Polgus. The ammo barracks are still standing though for some reason. I have no idea why.
That's like the hood. Like when you're cruising in, you're like, what the fuck is this place?
Yeah, that's where like we would go to drink if we just like absolutely didn't want to be bothered by like OOD or duty or anything, because they don't. It's like fucking. It's like a white dude walking through Harlem if the OOD goes to fucking the ammo barracks.
Nobody goes. Yeah, nobody goes over there. Those are so run down and shitty. I can't believe people live in those. Those are as bad as the ones that I saw at 210. 210 had some really bad ones. Some super bad barracks. It was just like, dude, this is like, I can't believe we have people living in here. Like, this is fucked up, you know? And I always said that, even out in Los Flores, and Flores was a super nice area. Yeah. But our guys they're just like everybody else on Pendleton. They didn't have AC in their rooms. So in the summertime, they'd come back and just be fucking dying, you know? Like, and I always thought it was super fucked up, just like I thought it was fucked up on my own house. You know, I lived in base housing, and it's 85 degrees inside my house because they refused to put AC because of the fucking ocean breeze. Like, bitch, I can see the ocean from my house. I lived on top of Wire Mountain. I can see the ocean, unimpeded wind. It's 85 fucking degrees in my house. And then one year when I was deployed, there was the big ass fires, and I was out on fucking ship, I think. I don't even think I was deployed yet. And they had to shut all the windows to keep the smoke out because they'd gotten close to the houses. And now it's summertime, no AC, smoke everywhere. Got to shut all the windows. Like it's like a sauna inside the houses.
Yeah. I remember those fires too. I was in the barracks when that went down, and
didn't they get close to the ASP?
it was like like it seemed like it like surrounded Polgus. Because I remember like they were telling us like, hey, yeah, it's time to like get the fuck out the barracks, like find somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And I was in my buddy's car and we were leaving, and I remember like I saw like smoke on my right, and then there's like smoke on my left, and there's like smoke behind us, and I'm like, dude, are we trapped? But we ended
what
up,
a nightmare.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then the best part about it is like immediately, like after the fires were done, it was like, all right, battalion PT, let's run through all the shit that burned down, and it was just like it was a totally different
really?
layout. Yeah, we well, there's like trails all behind Polgus and shit, so we ran through there, and like it was like lush and green before, and now everything's just, it looked like fucking napalm strikes everywhere,
Fucking
like,
apocalypse.
Yeah.
Comes a zombie over the top of the hill.
Putting face paint on and like fucking had a green bandana like I have right now, and just
that can't be healthy for you to run through.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like smoky, but everything's just burnt. Yeah.
I mean, what we've been through. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, you know what? I wonder how much the smoke from coming, the dude that swabs the gun and stuff like that, and the dude that throws in the powder, like how much smoke comes in their face when that breach opens after a round fires, and that dude leans over to like.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, that can't be fucking healthy, man. That right there is like, that dude's got cancer 100%. If you don't hold your breath every time.
That shit is fucking. I came to like the smell of it after a while. Yeah, just like being able to smell like the fucking propellant like smoke on the gun line. I'm like,
it does smell good.
Yeah, I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
It's just like shooting or anything else. You smell it, you're like, oh, I love it. Just like people like fireworks. You like the smell of explosions.
I don't think that shit's good for you probably whatsoever. Like just.
No way it can be. Hey, real quick, I'm going to cut off. I'm not going to end the show, but I want to throw out, because I've been looking for this guy. Did you see the post I put up of the battery that blew up, or of the gun that blew up, the howitzer that blew up at Fort Bragg in 2011? I put up a post before on Facebook. It started going viral within the artillery community. I think it's been viewed like over, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of times. But one of the guys that was on the gun that blew up wanted to come on the show, and I told him he could, and I was going to have him on in the springtime, and I was going to reach back out to him, but I got started getting messages and notifications, so I don't know who he is. So if you're out there, dude, hit me up. I do still want to have you on the show, because he was in Fort Bragg 2011. I was out there with 210, and this was my final exercise before I attached to 3.6 for our deployment. We were firing a series. We had one of my scouts called in a series, and they were getting ready to fire. I just approved it, and they fired, and it was like the second volley, the fuse on the 155 round exploded in the bore. And it,
and they had like an inbore explosion. And,
because it was a point detonating fuse, and there was something wrong with the fuse, so it was already set. So when they rammed it in, that pressure of it ramming blew it up. Like the corpsman got his femur broken and femoral artery cut. They had to they saved him with a tourniquet. So anyway, I want to have him come on, and he was going to talk about it because obviously it's something that's super interesting. Yeah, I know, dudes. I know that's one of those things that people talk about now within the artillery community.
You always hear about that shit like all the time. And one of my buddy Connor, who I was talking about earlier, he talked about that a bit because he was in 10th Marines. I don't think he was in 10th Marines when that happened, but that was I think his seniors had been there, or something like that.
It was crazy, man.
Yeah, you always hear about that shit. Fucking, it's before almost every field op, you do some safety brief, and someone has to bring it up,
Yeah. All right, real talk. How many times do you guys shoot out of the box?
Okay, so here's the thing. I've actually never shot out of the safety box. I have, however, shot very, very, very short when we were shooting on min safety lines.
Hey, man, kicking chalk is inside the fucking safety box, if you ask me.
Yeah.
As long as you're inside.
So what happened was, it was Steel Night, and I was the primary FATIDS operator. And there was a miscommunication in the FDC, and we weren't shooting DIG, we were shooting with voice. So all of the fire commands were being sent down over the radio to the guns. and we I got told to compute data for firing charge 3, and then somewhere somehow the guy who was on the radio with the guns got told to shoot charge 2. So they had charge 3 deflection and quadrant with charge 2 physically in the guns. So it shot like, God, I don't even know how short, like super short. And the only reason that that kind of like saved us a little bit was because we were shooting MSLs. We weren't shooting safety boxes. So like if like here's the MSL, it was like boop, like right in front of it, like just safe enough, you know. And that was like, I mean, obviously, like if there's a problem, it's like a group. Like the FDC was fucked up, so we kind of like, you know, we like reconvened, and of course, I think if I'm being honest, I think I bared the brunt of it. Of that, like I had like both the battalion commander and the battalion sergeant major like screaming at me when I was just doing what I was told. However, there were safety checks that we should have been doing that I don't think were done. So, you know, it's like it's everyone's fault for sure.
Dude, it's one of those, you know, it's something that's a rule I always tried to like, and you probably heard me say something about it in the JFO primer. I'm like, the rules, especially in the JTAC world and the, you know, the fire support community in general, are written in blood. Like there's a reason for like these rules, like getting a visual tally call from an aircraft before you do an IR pointer strike at night. You know, to make sure that they're actually looking at the right end of the pointer, stuff like that. Like that's there's no exception to that because it's people have gotten killed doing that, you know, doing readbacks. That's a no-brainer. Like you're getting a readback and you're actually going to look and confirm that's your actual grid, you know. It's just these rules are written in blood because the OP and just fire support community in general is dangerous. And I've talked about it on here before about almost getting hit by a 155 round at Camp Lejeune. I was on OP5. I'm on the track record of fucking shitty places to be. OP5 almost got hit. We had a 155 HE round land 50 meters from us. I was on San Clemente Island doing naval gunfire and had a piece of shrapnel skip between me and the instructor I was standing there talking to, like the size of my hand. It skipped off the ground and went another like 30 yards behind me and landed in the back of a pickup truck. And the instructor's like, "Oh, you'd have been okay. And it would have hurt, but you'd have been okay." And I'm like, "Dude, fuck you, man. That would have like broke my leg or like." And you're out there on San Clemente Island, you got to wait on a helicopter to fly out from mainland and then fly back, like if you cut like an artery or something.
Did you get to keep the shrapnel?
I think we had a bunch of no-glows with us, a bunch of the naval gunfire liaison officers. One of them probably grabbed it. But, man, there was a female sitting in the back of the truck. Actually, there's a female no-glow sitting in the back of the pickup truck, and it landed next to her.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
It came to rest right next to her. It had lost velocity and landed right there. I was just like, shit, but... It's a dangerous place on the OP, you know? Like it can be downrange. Anytime you're employing any kind of weapon system, it's in the Marine Corps in general is a naturally like dangerous and, you know, job. It's just part of the fucking and it's funny because you get out and everything else feels like super boring because you're not under that like pressure. Like, you know, when you're doing a fire mission, you're under pressure. Like you're doing stuff like, okay, I got to make decisions. This is happening. I'm doing this. I'm changing this. And you don't get that when you get out. There's no, like, you don't feel like any, especially because you've done it. So you've done it now in combat, like for real. And you're not going to mimic that pressure that you get from doing a fire mission, you know, or something, just anything like that. It's just, it sucks, but it is what it is. You got to find something else that you like doing. You're starting a podcast too, right? Or have you already started?
Yeah. So I'm still in like the planning phases, and I'm looking for someone who would like to be like a co-host, co-host, co-anchor, whatever. Because I think that I don't know, I just want to gear it more towards like current events, but you know, with like kind of like a comedic spin on it, and just have someone that I can talk with, and just we both like kind of can exchange dialogue pretty easily, and just like both two like pretty funny individuals.
That's kind of how me and Farrell are when we do ours, because he's on so much. We don't get into his background anymore. We just talk about current events and stuff that we're doing. So that's definitely a good thing to have to keep, because, you know, the stories are great, but you do want current stuff.
Absolutely. And yeah, so I had settled on a name. It's going to be For Direct Consumption. So acronym FDC, putting a little bit of my past in there.
There you go.
And And yeah, I'm in the like planning. I obviously, if you can see the mic on the camera right here, this just came in like a few days ago.
Oh yeah, what kind of microphone did
Yeah.
you get?
It wasn't very expensive. It was like shit. I don't even remember what it was called. It was like
Dude,
fucking $50 on Amazon.
no reason to put a ton of money into it until you know,
Yeah,
feel like it's actually going somewhere.
exactly. Yeah. So I think, I mean, I'm assuming it sounds good on your end. I haven't heard, complaints. So
Well, it's a little grainy, but that's just because it's coming. I think it's just because it's coming through the internet. You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
on Skype. It's coming through Skype.
yeah,
So what are you gonna do?
yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to start it. I've also I'm saving up for I want to get like a nice fancy camera and start doing like a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can really think of to do right now, I want to do like comedy sketches, but not necessarily. I don't think they'll be like veteran oriented.
Yeah.
I think it'll just be like just straight up like think of like SNL or something, just different comedy sketches and stuff like that. But I also want to have like a documentary series about just my transition from Marine Corps to civilian again.
No, that's cool, man. That's
So
cool.
yeah,
You like creating stuff.
exactly. Yeah, I love writing too. I do my own. I do a lot of writing, mostly like short stories and fiction. Um, and yeah, I've written like there's you familiar with Reddit?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's
I don't get people that don't get on Reddit. Like Reddit's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. It can get a little hive mindy, but if you like know how to like, sift through like some of the shit on there, like I think it's a pretty great website.
I only use it for information anymore because when I go on there to debate with anybody, I get banned from a page immediately. Yeah. They're like, "You're out." Oh, like what do you even have this? It's not even open conversation. Like whatever.
Exactly. So there's one subreddit that I like on there called Humanity Fuck Yeah, and it's basically just a bunch of short stories about. It's all centered around like the human spirit, essentially, and it's usually science fiction about like humans overcoming like an alien invader or something with like superior technology and whatnot. And I wrote a 3-part like story on there that got some pretty decent reviews. Like people enjoyed it, so I think I still have it on my laptop. I'll probably, I don't know, maybe send it to like some kind of short story publisher or something. But
cool,
but yeah, so yeah, I definitely enjoy like being creative and writing and producing and creating things. So that's like where I'm trying to take my my life after the Marine Corps. Is I'm trying to become an actor after school, but like school is my top priority right now.
What school are you going to?
So I'm gonna apply for both SDSU and UCSD. Okay. But I would really like to go to SDSU. That's my like top choice.
Yeah, it's cool. SDSU is great, man. I'm going there right now. Well, online now because of the fucking coronavirus. Yeah. What a great campus, though. It's super nice. Like the campus is super nice. Everyone's super chill. It's fucking one. It's weird because I'm 36 years old and I'm in college, so already, and I look older because I have a gray beard. So that's just weird. But two, it's like there are a ton of skateboarders on campus, and like some of the classrooms have like skateboard like on the wall where you can mount your skateboard on the way in. Like they have a little holding area for all the skateboards and shit because people are longboarding and everything everywhere. Like it's just overall the campus is, I mean, I like it. It's pretty nice. And what you were saying about like the arts and stuff like that, a lot of veterans don't get into the arts and stuff. And there's quite a few. If you go on Instagram, I can't remember the guy's name right now. I have to look it up, but he does a lot of good, like, I think it's Ben Kentwell Arts or something like that. Ben Kentwell Art. He does a lot of great drawings. And guys do podcasts. You got the guys over at Vet TV that are just making fun of everything they did in the military. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of, like, I guess my point is you don't have to get out and go get a business degree from the school and become a manager at some corporation, do your time there till you retire, start marching in place in another fucking a corporate environment. There's other options out there, and it's a struggle at first, to be honest. I mean, I'm doing the podcast and the website. I don't get any income from the podcast right now. I haven't tried to get any advertisers or anything like that. And then the website's my income along with the GI Bill. And you can't live off just your GI Bill. Like you can, but you're living sparsely and you're kind of an asshole. You should probably be getting another job and getting money. And the website does that for me to give me a little bit of supplemental income. But that's the thing you got to like. It's a struggle at first because one, you got to overcome your own. Fuck, no one wants to see my shit. You know, no one wants to. No one like I'm gonna feel like such an idiot. Like I don't want to post this on my personal page because people make fun of me. You know.
Yeah.
And you get the people closest to you, like honestly, like your good friends. A lot of them, none of them like really support you that much. Like a little bit. In my experience, like I've had friends that they're like, "Hey, good job, that's cool, man," but none of them are like. I won't say that. There are some people that are avid listeners of the show, but some of them are just like, whatever, dude, you're doing your thing, which is totally cool. I don't need them to be like, oh, why aren't you doing this? But some people don't get it. And then they won't jump on board until you've kind of made it. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, what's up, buddy? Like, how you been? But at first they're the people talking shit.
Yeah.
But you got to get through that phase of like, I'm not good enough to do it. I can fucking, because putting yourself out there is, you're putting it out there. People can say whatever they want about me in the comments, And I'm not going to delete comments. The only time I would delete comments is if it's spam, and that's only up until the point where it's no longer manageable. Yeah. But, for the people can say whatever they want in the comments, and, putting yourself out there is, you got to have tough skin, have thick skin for it, which you came out of the Marine Corps, so.
Yeah, the thing that I would say, like, I struggle, because, like, so I like to, like, I'm hesitant to say it right now. I like to like look at myself in the mirror, and just like say lines from like a movie that I like, and just like kind of watch like my facial expressions and shit.
Yeah.
And see if I'm like convincing myself that I'm like doing this well,
Yeah.
But then I'll hit a point where I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, why am I doing this? Well, but it's just me being like, because I think like, oh, if somebody saw me doing this, I'd be embarrassed,
Yeah.
So that's
100%.
Like the hardest thing for me to get over is just like not like giving a shit what other people think.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, once you do, man, I mean, you got, what's his name? I don't know his name, but the dude that was in the newest Star Wars, he was a Marine. He's a Marine infantryman reservist. Yeah. So on episode 28 of the podcast is Major Christopher Walker. I think he's still in the reserves. He was an Anglico guy with me when I was over at First Anglico, but he's an actor in New York, and he's been in a bunch of stuff already. He's been in Punisher on Netflix, like he's been in stuff like that. So if you're interested in acting, go over to you and whoever's listening, check out episode 28. He talks about it's work. It's just like any other job. Like you have to perfect your skills. Like it's not just he goes to a ton of classes, and he uses them as networking opportunities and stuff like that. And I think that's the biggest takeaway most people need to realize when they get out is how important networking is, because you're going to get a job or an opportunity through someone that you meet by handing them a business card or saying, what's up? My name is so-and-so. Here's my professional email, So.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a change. Well, obviously it's going to be a fucking change, but but when you brought up Vet TV, so I actually got to meet a lot of the cast of them, including Donnie O'Malley, cool. When they did a viewing party at a brewery in Oceanside.
Oh, no way.
And I told them, I met with one of their producers. I was just like outside smoking a cigarette, and he's like, "Hey man, you here to see Vet TV?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And we got talking, and I actually told him like my plan after getting out. And this was when I was like 2 years from getting out. It was like, what's your plans after? And I was like, I actually want to be an actor. And he was like, oh shit, like I got to introduce you to Donnie. And so I talked to him, and the piece of advice he gave me was like, you got to take like all the like Marine Corps, be a man, tough stuff, and kind of just trash it. And like you can't really think like that anymore because it's the performing arts. You've got to like
you have to show emotion.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not a fucking robot.
So that's like what I work on the most right now, and I think I've gotten better at it. I mean, I'd have to ask my roommates. I think maybe
probably not at all. Probably not at all.
Probably not.
I'll sit there and think about it. I'm like, dude, I probably look like I'm pissed off right now just because I have like that fucking like I'll just sit there. I don't know. You get that look after a while. Just
Yep.
Yeah, I think people always think I'm pissed off, and that's just the demeanor you come out of, especially if you're like a leader at any point in the Marine Corps. You get this like demeanor, I don't know. It just kind of hangs with you. It's funny. Yeah, man. No, that's cool. I've thought about trying to get Donnie O'Malley to come on the podcast, and thought about hitting him up, see if he wants to come over, because they do a lot of work. They're right here in Southern California.
Yeah, dude, I bet he'd do it. I mean, he's a really cool guy. Like when I talked to him, he was like super easy to talk to. Just a really chill guy. Like, and all the whole cast is, dude. Like they're awesome people. And they're super funny. And they'll just talk to you and like like when I went to this viewing party, I was like nervous because I was like, are they gonna like want to talk to people, or is this gonna?
Are they celebrities? Like, how do we?
Right? Like, how do I talk to them? But yeah, they were all just like super cool, and I bought one of their Vet TV shirts and got it signed by like the cast, and I have it here in my room. So it was a really cool experience, and they're all like really really great people, and they're just super funny, and I think they've actually they've created like I think a really cool outlet for veterans and active duty to just kind of like come together over. Like I have the Vet TV app on my phone. I'm not plugging them right now, but like I have the Vet TV app on my phone, and it's great. Like I love it. I love watching their stuff.
That's cool. I have watched their videos. I've watched some of their videos, but I don't like subscribe to the like YouTube channel, or they have like a whole basically TV channel, right? Where they have like full videos.
They have, I mean, they have different like shows, and I think they even have like a movie.
Really?
It's like I think so. I can't remember, but yeah, I think they.
Yeah, and then so the point here and the whole big picture is that there's more to getting out. Like you can get out and go do something other than just like a business, because everybody talks about getting out. I'm gonna go be a manager at this company, or I could go do this, or
my cousin.
Yeah, I'm gonna go work with my cousin at a tree farm. He's got a job for me, $95,000 a year starting out. Never have to come in. That's everyone's got that job like lined up on their way out. But a creative outlet is cool, and the good thing about college is that normally I would tell people like, hey, if you're creative, you're creative. Like if you're not creative, school's going to help you refine somewhat, but you still got to have to be able to create something. Like it's got to there's something that drives it. And school's not necessarily going to give it to you. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend regular people to go to college, but for a veteran, you can go to school and pull those GI Bill benefits and use that money as a like starter seed to help fund your creative outlet. Like I started my website, and I was able to do that, making hardly any money at first, like selling a couple stickers every now and then and a t-shirt every now and then, to making enough money where I can survive on it when my GI Bill is not in play. You know what I'm saying? I'm not getting rich or anything. Let's not get crazy. But I can at least survive on it, and it's allowing me to create podcasts for free and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm banking on at some point in the future, this will all take off and I'll get something, more money out of it. I'll start making actual money. When obviously I'm not fully in it for that. I like to get in the stories and stuff out there, but you got to get paid. The equipment gets expensive. You're going to start finding that out. Before I forget, I was going to tell you, you said a camera, you were going to look at cameras, something I didn't even know. I had originally planned filming this podcast using I have a Nikon D5300. It's a DSLR camera. And you can only shoot with that camera in video mode for like 15 minutes. So
really?
Yeah, I didn't know that. So when you go to look at, if you're looking at a DSLR, you need to find out what's the max time, because the sensor overheats and it'll fuck the sensor up. So I ended up getting, because we're on Skype, you won't see it, but if you look at any of the interviews I've had with the people in person, like Michael Farrell or when I went on campus, I had to buy a 4K camera, an actual camcorder, the little digital camcorder. So something to think about, since you mentioned it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm glad you knew that, because that's actually like I was going to look at a camera like that, because I also want to do photography. Yeah. But I'm glad you bring that up, because I probably would have just not even looked into it and just been like, this one's cool, and bought it,
Yeah, exactly. Because I was going to use, so then I got the camera, and I wanted to initially get a camera anyway, but then I wanted to use my DSLR as a second camera. So I could have that on the group or whatever, like if there's two people here on my couch and then the other one on me, I could have two different angles and stuff like that. But yeah, I can't do it. I'd have to buy a second camcorder, which is,
Yeah.
But it's fun, man. It's a hobby that may be turned into a passion, that may turn into a job. Only 46% of Americans have heard of podcasting, which means 56% haven't even heard about it yet. So like 50% of America hasn't heard about podcasts yet. Like they don't know what it is. They've never listened to one. So you're looking at a market that's just untapped, people that would listen to it. So
I thought that's kind of surprising to me, because like I feel like all I hear about now are just like podcasts and stuff like that, like I guess because it's growing.
Exactly. It's growing.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that number to be that low.
It's probably also because you're getting older too. I don't think 18 to 22-year-olds are listening to podcasts as much.
Probably not. Yeah,
there are some for sure, but it's mostly like older guys because it's like, I don't know. You're older. Yeah. You're listening to dudes that have same experiences.
They're more refined. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck, man. Well, all right, man. It's we're at what, just over 2 hours and some change. So I'm gonna cut it here. Do you want to plug anything before I let you go? You want to plug your podcast? Do you have a website yet or anything?
No, I'm still like strictly in the planning phases. I don't have much set up. But no, man, I just thank you for the opportunity to come on. It was absolutely great. Like I really enjoyed the experience. And absolutely be willing to do it in the future as well.
Yeah, next time, like I said, next time we're going to come over and we'll sit down on the couch, me, you, and Farrell, just sit here and bullshit and stuff. I don't know if you smoke weed, but we do that occasionally while we're recording. But,
of course. Dude, I went straight to the dispensary when I got out. Like
I know, I said I wasn't going to when I got out. I'm like, I'm going to wait until I figure out what I'm doing, and then within 24 hours, I was like, oh my God, I am fucking ripped.
Yeah, I was pretty much the same. Actually, real quick, I used my military ID at the dispensary because it had like 1 day left on the expiration, and I didn't have a state ID.
If you still have it, take it. They file it you get a military discount.
Oh my God!
All the legitimate dispensaries, because where do you go to the dispensary at?
I go to Columbia Care in Pacific Beach.
So it's a legitimate one.
Yeah.
All the legitimate ones, all the ones I've been to, at least like SDRC and stuff like that. They, for the people that don't know, man, the dispensaries are fucking crazy. SDRC has this carousel where they have plants on it. You can buy the plants for like $5 or $10 each, and it's this big ass fucking carousel with a light in the center, and it's just rotating around it, growing in the middle of the dispensary where you can just pick out clones.
That's fucking awesome.
It's just crazy, but yeah. Use your military discount, man. You fucking earned it, War Dog.
Yeah.
All right, man. All right, well, hey, thanks for coming on the show. Let me know when you get your podcast set up and stuff like that. Yeah, shoot me a picture. I'll put it up on my Instagram and stuff like that so people get the word out.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good day, dude.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Later. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and check out one of these videos that I got playing up here.